Hello and welcome back to Lorehammer. My name is Eric.
Trevor.
That's Mark.
Trevor.
Epstein didn't kill himself.
Oh,
This is Jordan.
He was suicided. This is Sam.
Sam.
joining us today is Sam. Hello.
Hello.
How's it going?
I'm pretty good. Happy to be here.
Good. This is your first episode on Lorehammer,
It is.
but not your first episode podcasting.
No, it's like my third episode podcasting.
Cool. So you already know all the ins
No, I
and
guess it's
outs
like my
of-
seventh.
Go listen to Samcast. It's
Yeah.
where you can really dive into Sam's mind and what he thinks about issues.
Really get lost.
They're just what
All the issues.
what it
Yeah.
is when you're walking around, you have like one of those tape recorders. You pull it out with a thought, you record that thought,
That's
and
right.
then later you
Why
go
is grass green?
Right, exactly. That's your
Yeah.
one talking point, and then you go later record.
Samcast is not a good podcast, to be honest with you.
We're working the kinks out. Yeah.
You know, it has really high production costs, but not what you would call high production value, you know.
Yeah. Well, this is episode 60. So this is the 60th episode.
Yes, Eric,
of
yes.
our- you know that like the guy, the green. These are green donuts.
Oh, jeez,
That's what
yeah.
I was trying to do. Doesn't matter. And it's all about homunculi covens.
Yeah.
And the covens of homunculi.
I learned a lot of stuff,
It
actually.
sounds
during
like
the notes.
some kind of mushroom.
A mushroom.
Yeah.
That's what you think of?
Homunculus. Cenobus or something. Some weird.
Do you guys want me to get into this? Because I actually know a fair bit about the etymology of the word homunculus, and Haemonculi, as it's spelled in Warhammer.
Might
And this-
as well give us a little teaser just to get our brain juices flowing.
Okay, well, Haemonculi, that's something Warhammer did invent because it's spelled differently than the version I'm familiar with.
Now, do you think that was an intentional spelling mistake, or was that like...
No, because it changes the meaning of the word to like it would be like little blood, because in Latin homunculus means little man, and there's a whole history about that involving sperm and lots of strange
my
things.
attention.
The homunculus is also known for being immortal beings, like beings that were created were also known as homunculi.
Exactly, and in like Western occult traditions, there's this sort of method where you can invent your own invisible friend, basically.
More on that on Samcast.
And that's what it's called. It's called a homunculus.
The more you know.
The more you know.
The more
That-
you know.
That being said, I'll try to rein myself in a little bit. I was inspired by one of the last guys. I can't remember the name of this guest who was on one of your other Dark Eldar episodes, but he played a game with you guys, and it was guess if this is a medieval torture that people actually did, or if it's a Dark Eldar torture.
Okay.
So I'm kind of running with that theme and putting my own spin on it.
Okay.
So the listeners might not know, but you guys probably know, I'm like a rabid heavy metal fan, which is part of the appeal of Warhammer 40k to me.
Yeah,
It's
yeah.
just because it's very metal. And the Dark Eldar are the most metal of the Warhammer 40k races. At least,
Really? You don't think like the Necron?
I think the Necron are pretty metal.
Yeah.
I mean,
They're made of metal.
yeah, they're literally metal.
But they can't rock out
No.
like Dark Eldar.
Yeah,
can.
that's the thing. They wouldn't enjoy rocking out because they're just like
They don't
robotic
enjoy
husks.
they don't enjoy blood getting thrown on them by the performers, you know.
No,
Whereas the
no.
Dark Eldar, that's gonna set them off.
Absolutely. So I've got a game, and it's just called Heavy Metal Lyrics, or Heavy Metal Song Titles, I should say, or text pulled from the Lexicanum page on Haemonculi. And you guys have to guess
All
what
right.
it is. Okay? Ready? So guess if this is Dark Eldar trivia or heavy metal song title. Carbonized eye sockets. Is that a heavy metal song title?
Let me.
Or
can you
Dark
say that in
Eldar.
like a screaming voice? Like, I'm gonna go with yeah, it's a metal song.
I'm going with metal too.
yeah, after I hear it in that voice.
It's a metal song.
Oh yeah.
Okay.
By who? Who is such a brilliant
That is
songwriter.
by Carcass off of their album Reek of Putrefaction.
All of those would have
course.
fit on Homunculi page. On the Homunculi page.
Yeah. Okay. You guys ready for another one? You guys, the Lorehammer boys, are so far 1-0. Okay. Walls of Agony.
Oh, that's Homunculi.
Yeah, I'd say so too.
I'm going to say yes
guys
to what
got
Mark and Eric said.
Wow, way to just hop on in there,
Yeah.
steal the glory. Fuck.
Okay. One more, and then we'll
What we
do
right?
something else. You were right. It's
Oh,
Homunculi.
yeah.
Good job, Jordan.
I just didn't want to admit it. I was trying to move on. Okay. So this next one. Is it metal song title or homunculi text? Necromantical screams.
That is a heavy metal song title.
That's a heavy metal song title.
Yeah.
Nice.
All right.
The only
Figure it
reason I was really confident in this game is I just spent 3 days scouring the homunculi pages on Lexicanum.
Yeah. If we didn't do the research, it would have gone a different way.
Yeah. Very,
hope so.
very different.
We should have let Jordan just answer.
We
them all.
should have.
Fuck.
That's true.
Missed
I've got
opportunity.
more.
Yeah, do
it.
Let's
I've
see
got
if
to lay
let's
it
see
on
Jordan's
Jordan.
So we
skill.
just do Morden?
Yeah.
Okay. Death-like silence.
Ooh, Jordan.
He's thinking.
Ooh.
Homunculi.
That is a song
Oh.
by German
dumb
thrash
bitch.
band Sodom.
Did you do your research or not,
Did
Jordan?
you not listen to
didn't.
all of metal?
Yeah.
No,
Just the whole thing?
Yeah.
Okay, another one. Is this a song title or homunculi text? Manipulators of flesh. Manipulators of flesh.
I'm going to say homunculi.
Oh, you are correct.
Ding, 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 ding.
Nice. He did his research.
He knows all about that manipulating of the
Flesh manipulation.
Sounds like something Dark Eldar would do. If
Give
they
him-
did anything.
Give him one more.
Okay,
Okay, last one.
okay, this is a tough one. Two daimonian. Two daimonian.
Ooh, I have no idea. I'm just going to...
It's a 50
Shot in the dark. It's a song.
It's a song.
Oh.
Well done, Jordan.
Yeah, success.
You have earned your place at this table once
thank
again.
Next time, though, you might not be so lucky.
Okay.
Next time, we might have to use the casting couch to see if you've earned your place at this table.
I thought I already did that.
It's an episode-to-episode basis.
Oh, no.
You can't rest on your laurels.
The producers really just want to see what you can do.
Yeah. We want to push you, stretch you to your furthest abilities.
Okay.
Very dark Eldar.
That's a funny
Before
name.
we
Jeez.
actually dive into the homunculi episode, let's thank our newest patrons. So I'm just going to list out all our patrons. We have Dallas, Captain Soban, Jordan, not this Jordan,
What a great name.
Artemis Dream, Fly Threer Man.
I think it's Flyer Man.
Obviously it is, but Fly Threer Man is way more funny.
Thanks, Flyer Man.
Sanel, Christoph, Side Lightning, George, Danny, and Taylor. Those are all our newest patrons. Thank you guys.
Thank you a lot for contributing.
Yeah.
Thank you. Yeah.
It's,
Good job, guys.
Awesome.
Well, big things on the horizon. Big decisions to make.
Ooh.
Big things. And then we also have one-time donation who just decided to throw us a 20 or whatever. I don't know how much it was. Anyways, Jonathan, thank you also for your one-time donation to us.
Yeah, means a lot. Means a lot.
Money is good for us. What?
Yes.
Yeah,
Yes.
it means we can do things like build
Insightful.
studios.
Not just you either. It's
Yeah.
good for lots of people.
Well, yeah, actually,
You can get stuff with it.
you can.
Warhammer stuff.
And then I guess one more thing.
Yeah.
Before we dive in.
We're going to start doing something called the Community Corner. And basically, we want to help, grow the community. That's part of the reason why we originally started Lorehammer was to, get in touch with other people, get other people in touch with other people, and just, find friendship and love.
Well, when you miss it in your daily life as much as Mark does,
Oh, yeah.
you have to find it in other places.
I got 2 cats, and they're not enough to keep me satisfied. On
Just looking for love in all the wrong places.
All the wrong-
Those cats are the wrong places.
Oh, I know. So in the community corner, basically, we want you guys to send in something. Like if you have a painting studio and you want us to give a shout out to your painting studio, or if you're starting a gaming group, or anything that relates to 40K and you're kind of looking for
Or a 40K meme page.
40K meme page. Yeah, exactly.
sure, yeah.
If you're even if you're doing like a 40K podcast, like as long as you're not like the independent characters or like something that's already well established, we'll give you a shout out. Like we want to help grow stuff.
Or you're not better than Lorehammer,
Well,
right?
no.
If
That's impossible.
Yeah.
The standard is
right, you're right.
So high.
it's impossible. But yeah, like
That's just ridiculous.
Preposterous.
If anybody could do a better job than you, please.
we have awesome games. Any game. Who can beat them? Who can beat them? So yeah, that's kind of the concept of what we're trying to do here. So in this community corner, we're going to be featuring 3 Guys minis, and you can check them out on Facebook.
So we're just going to read in exactly what they said to us, and I guess I'll just read it out loud. So we are a new commissioned painting studio from central Slovakia, Banska Bystrica. I don't know.
Yeah, you tried with the accent.
I
there.
did, yeah.
Very nice.
There are 3 of us, Joseph, Lucas, and Miro. We have decided to make the studio in order to paint as much as possible, as it is cheaper than a therapist, and because we just love the smell of glue or paint. We also have a special agreement with the local Warhammer shop. It's an independent store, so we can buy Warhammer stuff directly for them from European prices. So if you want to have something painted by us, we can buy the stuff. As we are not doing this for a living, our painting prices are roughly the box price of the model. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, commission painting's crazy. How much work goes into it for how little it
Well,
they make off of it.
Well, they're getting it at cost, right? So they're making that difference. So anyways, so for example, Shadow Spear fully painted at tabletop standard should be around 120 euros plus 120 for buying the box.
Yeah.
Also, every Patreon patron of Lorehammer gets a 10% discount from painting price. Hey, that's cool.
Yeah, no, that's very cool.
So say Lorehammer sent you.
Yeah.
I think, yeah, you have to have your Lorehammer Patreon certificate.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
That we
Yeah.
sent
Show
out to
that.
all the patrons.
Yeah.
Your official...
Membership card.
Yeah, laminated. It expires every 5 months because just in case you left Patreon.
Yes.
So
And
Also,
a renewal fee of $150.
And also, if you just wear a chastity belt, they'll know.
I don't know.
You know
so
what
that
I
is
mean?
also accepted
Yeah.
as proof.
So yeah, 3 Guys minis. Check them out on Facebook, especially if you're in the Slovakia area. You might be able to get some cool minis painted. So also just
Or just join their gaming group. You know,
yeah, whatever. Yeah, exactly. You know,
become their friends.
there's so many 40K people in the world, and sometimes it's tough to find them. But like they're out there. There's a bunch of people out there. So
I have a question about these guys, and I'm
Yeah.
not sure if you know. So, do you like send them your miniatures, or do you have to buy the miniatures also at cost from them?
you could do it either way. You could send
Okay.
them, but then you're paying.
But you pay for
Shipping
shipping,
is-
which
yeah.
would be
yeah,
for us at least trying to ship something
Oh,
to
yeah.
Slovakia.
yeah,
I don't think I'm sending models to Europe.
no.
When I
hey,
go to
you're in there.
Vakenfest, is that a Dark Eldar thing or a heavy metal thing?
I don't know.
Yeah,
Carnival of Pain.
Carnival of Pain.
Is that a Dark Eldar thing or a heavy metal song?
That is for sure both.
Definitely. So yeah, if you want to be featured on a community corner, send us I don't know, email probably was the best way to do it. Label it community corner, and
We'll judge it.
yeah, like the other thing is too, like I don't know, I've never had anything done by 3 Guys minis, so they could be out of shit. So we're not responsible. Is all we're saying here. All I'm saying.
No, yeah. No.
They did cop to huff and glue, and that's
Yeah,
that
yeah.
can really mess with your perceptions.
But that might add to the creative flair.
But it also
We
might
don't
make it
know.
better. Yeah, you're
But
right.
yeah, check them out. Like check them out on Facebook. You can see what they're doing, and if it interests you, hit 'em up. So
Just trying to get people talking about other people,
Yeah.
right? Isn't that
Building bridges.
That's our mission statement.
Yeah. Lore
That's
Hammer.
Lorehammer
Building bridges, comma, faggots.
I was
It has to be in there
I was
somewhere.
imagining in my head that there's like a mural of like all the different, really scary Warhammer units, like from different races holding hands. And there's like a
No,
big,
they're all like crossing hands like this.
and
Unity.
there's a big like rainbow flag up behind them.
They all have massive
It gets
smiles.
better.
Cool. I think we're ready to start the
I
episode.
think we're ready to dive right into the Haemonculi Covens.
Yeah.
Let's get elbow deep in some blood and guts.
That's what they do.
So this is one of those episodes that, like, I knew vaguely about Homunculus Covens. I knew kind of the general concepts, but there's a lot in here that I learned that were like, holy fuck, that's like galaxy changing almost. And I'll point them out later, but there's a lot of like stuff that is really wild and has a lot of effects on not just Covens, but just like Dark Eldar as a species and even just, 40k in general. So it's quite a lot of interesting stuff.
Yeah, especially in your episode on Samora.
Samora.
That's how you pronounce it.
I thought that's how you guys ended up saying it. Gamora.
Yeah.
Right, Gamora.
Sodom and Gomorrah.
Sodom and Gomorrah. Now I remember the conversation. But you talked about how that city was like a city that was distributed across many different areas of space. And
Yeah,
Yeah.
it's like paper origami. Is
Oh,
I think.
you shut up.
It was what I recall.
But for me, that was also new to me. I
That's
learned it
very
while I was
cool
researching.
as a mechanic.
Like, it's bigger than a planet, this entire city.
And also the fact, was his name Andrew Bale Vecht? Is that the...
As Drubiel?
As Drew Bale Vecht, maybe?
Something like
As
that,
Drew
yeah.
Bale, the big, like... He's sort of that emperor character from the Dark Eldar. And at least because I'm sort of naive with Warhammer 40k, I didn't know there were like other characters that were sort of like the emperor in that
like super powerful.
super powerful, super old, like you don't really know what their ultimate motivations are,
Yeah.
kind of thing.
Yeah.
They're kind of playing everything to their own personal game.
Exactly.
Yeah. Before we do get started, something we should something that if you don't know, it'll bug you forever. Homunculus is the singular, and homunculi is the plural.
Yeah.
So many homunculi, one homunculus.
Thank you.
You're
Got it.
welcome. It's just gonna bug me when someone inevitably emails us and they're like, "I was looking at this one homunculi," and I'm like, "Nope."
Some dumb bitch on Facebook spelled
Look at all
corrected
these.
one of our posts, and it was we put IT''S, and he's like, actually, it's ITS.
Actually,
It's like, you dumb bitch, you're the worst person. I don't know his name, otherwise I would
that's
call him
the
out
word
on it.
person.
Yeah.
That's
Him, Hitler, Eric. That's my level of.
Stalin and Mao Zedong. Just don't even make the list.
I'm not very educated on a lot of things, so
That's all right.
I've just heard a lot about Hitler
And Eric.
and Eric. Those
So,
two things.
Homunculuses are also plural, right there.
I'm gonna have an aneurysm.
Can I get some homunculuses up in here?
Homunculus.
All right. Haemonculi Covens. Haemonculi are the lords of pain, perfect crafters of flesh who have served the Dark City for millennia by giving life to the Drukhari.
Yeah, they are truly ancient beings. I think we get into some timelines here
do,
eventually.
yeah.
But they are
You'll learn how
old.
old they are.
Yeah.
So the Underworld of Gomorrah is a dangerous place, even by Drukhari standards. Only the most brave or foolhardy travel there, for these are the realms of the Covens. Yeah, they build their lairs way down in Gomorrah. Down is a relative term as well.
Yeah, like-
it's more like in the proverbial sense of an underworld.
Yeah,
it's
yeah.
not like an actual in the sewers because there aren't any real ones in the
Yeah, it could
Like
be.
a symbolic underworld.
Yes,
Exactly.
exactly. Yeah.
I imagine that the plumbing system in Gomorrah is like every toilet is just connected to another dimensional gate. So all your
Why not?
all your weight
Just
just
goes
goes
straight into the warp.
yeah, it just goes straight into the water.
Shitting in the
Lands on some Chaos Space Marine's forehead, 50,000 light years away.
Yes, Linus blesses me. The smells. Deep within the dark city resides the homunculi. In the bowels of the impossible city, the Covens create their dungeons. In the city that exists in a million places at once, there are areas that are forgotten, impossible to reach, abandoned to time. These areas are perfect for the Covens to exist.
Yeah, places that no one else goes to.
Yeah, there's one example, I forget what it's called, but it was talking about how people would actually find this homunculus coven, and the homunculus controlled these orbs in this maze. And if you follow the orbs, you would eventually get to the coven. But since the homunculi are in charge of the orbs, and there's orbs everywhere, they dim some out and light some other ones up to like mislead people. And so like the rumor is, yeah, if you follow the lights, you're going to get to the coven. But really only if the homunculi want you to. Otherwise, they're going to lead you wandering around in a maze for all eternity. Like they're not just going to
torturing you.
Yeah, exactly. So,
There's I have a quote from a good friend about lights.
oh yes, okay.
Yeah. Don't follow the lights.
I was totally expecting a Brant quote.
Not a Gollum quote.
Not a god. That caught me off guard. But yeah, like to reach any of these covens, yeah, like they're impossible to reach. You know, they're in the deepest crevices of the city.
Yeah. So they create dungeons, cells, laboratories, towers, and cavern-like lairs where they can practice their art. And these lairs are so well hidden that they are practically impossible to find. And if you do happen to find one, the traps that have been set will be sure to capture you for the amusement of the master.
So is their art just generally torturing people? Is that what you mean?
Yes, that is their art. Their art is torture. But also birth.
It's so metal.
And life. Yeah.
My art is torture.
Death metal song.
Death metal song?
No. You just said it.
Dumb. Fucking dumb. So let's talk about the origins of the homunculis. The hunks.
The Hux.
The Huxtables.
10 out of 10.
Do you guys want to hear how a medieval magical homunculus is made?
I would love to, yes.
Are you sure?
Yes.
You guys should probably like hide my identity for the filth that's about to come out of my mouth. So here's what you got to do. You got to think about what you want your homunculus to do for you, first of all. And then you got to really think hard about like what its personality is going to be and what it's going to look like and everything. Mm-hmm. And while you're doing all this thinking, you should probably eat a bunch.
Of?
Whatever. You know,
it's not
something high. Like no, just something high in fiber. Okay. Early in the day.
Okay.
Very high in fiber.
Okay.
If you're one of those people we're Canadians, so we got the Tim Hortons coffee, and some people say that really gets them going in the morning, downstairs. If you're in a rush, that might be the route you go. Mm-hmm. So you got your intent set, and now find yourself a nice deep dish, like sort of a baking dish or something.
Okay.
And make sure it's has a sealable lid or something, though. Okay. Now you've eaten all your fibrous food. You've thought about your homunculus, what you wanted to do. Mm-hmm. Now you got to take a dump into that deep dish.
What I like about this was actually a thing at one point.
This was definitely a thing. Uh-huh. Well, it gets complicated when you talk about medieval magical texts,
yes.
But that's a side mission I'm not going to get into. And this is from one of those books, but it's been a long time since I read it. But I think this is from like the 15 or 1600s is when it was written. But anyway, I'll continue. So you've taken your big old nasty dump in that deep dish. Now you got to jerk off into it.
Well, you need life essence.
You need life essence.
Come on.
You're making a little human being, essentially.
Yeah.
So you
from the body of my body.
That's
life given to life. That's what he's saying. Is he's a jerk. Like, from my body to your body. That's him taking the dump.
Eric would make a great wizard.
Put that man in a robe, yeah.
Now you gotta seal that sucker up with that lid I told you about. Now go in your backyard or graveyard. That's obviously the best, but it's not necessary. Dig a nice hole. Make it 2 feet deep at least. And you got to do this on a new moon, I think, or maybe it's a full moon. I can't remember.
Third moon of the first night of the Wednesdays.
The moon cycle in which you bury it is important. So otherwise, it might not happen.
No, of course. Yeah.
We want this to happen.
We need this to happen.
So you bury it on the new moon, let's say, and then you wait the 28 days for the full moon, and you unbury it. And now that all that organic material has really been fermenting deep, and so you got to open
your
that
shit and your semen,
and then
Really?
that scent is essentially the homunculus being released into the ether, and now you'll have like a ghost servant.
That went a different direction than I thought. I thought you were gonna animate the shit,
No.
but it's the
The
funk that is released.
As I said, it might be. I'm sort of just remembering
You
this.
haven't tried this yet.
I haven't tried it
Yeah.
yet.
Yeah.
The night is young. As I said, some of those
Well, let's
details
check
might
that
be
lunar
wrong.
cycle. And
So okay.
But that was vaguely historical.
some guy at Games Workshop was like reading. He's like, yeah, that's awesome.
But I don't want to get sued for copyright. I'm gonna change the spelling of this word.
Right, yeah. Well, let's share the origins of the 40K Haemonculi.
Very similar.
Extremely similar to a T.
Wow.
So Haemonculi have been practicing their art for millennia, since the creation of Camorra, really. And their precise origin is unknown, but there's two main schools of thought. One of them just has a little more weight than the other.
Yeah, it's always funny, like when we don't know about things, but there's a very good reason. There's thousands of years, like the homunculi cults are rumored to be like 15,000 years old. So like that's why we don't know. It's not that Games Workshop hasn't like thought it through. Like we don't know in universe. No one would know. Like no one would be around to know. The rumors would change and morph over thousands of years. So
Myths and legends. And
so the very first one is that, and I like this one the most. It makes a lot of sense. They were the original masters of the pleasure cults. These cults led to the creation of Slaanesh and the fall of the Dark Eldar. So if we know about our Dark Eldar history,
Our Eldar history.
both technically, sure.
Sure.
We agree?
Well, you said the fall of the Dark Eldar.
Oh, well,
Yeah.
words. Yeah.
If we remember back to episode
36,
36, recall that we already learned this.
Eldar.
Minute 36.
You know what? And I don't even want to share now. So point 2 is
You aren't
You moron,
sharing.
it was 35 minutes. You should have known that.
the Eldar race is immortal, and eventually they just started experimenting more and more, and they started creating these pleasure cults to experience everything the galaxy has to offer. After 5,000 years of being alive, stuff gets dull. So eventually they just start with the little things, the little tiny things. But eventually, yeah, they make these full-on pleasure cults where they're having orgies and then killing everyone in the orgy just to feel something. So yeah, that's the first thought, is that the masters of these pleasure cults,
The people who led these people through these debaucherous and depraved acts were the original homunculi. That's
Yeah.
one thought.
yeah,
And then the other is that they were actually the original masters of the entire ancient Eldar race.
yeah,
And so they governed them during like the build up to the fall of the Eldar. So one is kind of like they're in like a position of authority kind of and power in the pleasure cults, and the other is that they're governing the entire Eldar race.
Yeah.
Which there's like a couple lines in like a couple codexes that go towards the leading of the entire race, but
I just don't see
it
how
doesn't
kinda
fit nearly
connects,
as well
yeah.
with all the other text we have.
Yeah.
That just describes like the flow of the Eldar race from the beginning of their fall
Yeah.
to now.
Yeah.
Doesn't really fit. And it doesn't really fit with how the homunculi act
Yeah.
now
Yeah, yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
Because if these are the same Eldar that governed like the race of the most powerful beings in the galaxy, like why are they content to sit now at the bottom?
Yeah, yeah, because
You
right
know?
now they're not very concerned about ruling Cormorra or
They're
anything
not
like that.
they're not uber political like
Yeah.
all Dark Eldar are.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sure there could be other origins as well. Those are the two we were able to strum up. But
And the pleasure cults, like just the leaders of the pleasure cult, seems to fit so much more.
it makes sense.
Yeah. And that's their origin.
We did it. But yeah, like the fall of the Eldar was what? It was
I didn't
12,000
hear
years.
one mention of jizz in that whole story.
Oh, we'll get there.
What kind of origin story is this? Well, I guess they're pleasure cults. So
Yeah,
I
yeah.
imagine.
I mentioned
Use your
the death-
imagination.
Yeah. I mentioned
right,
the
guys.
death orgy. Come on.
Yeah, you're right.
Yeah, like they've been around since the fall of the Eldar, like 12,000 years.
Oh yeah, I guess it's good to say that these,
Like, these
have,
are
and they're the
old.
same people.
Some of them,
We're not
yes.
talking like the idea of homunculi has existed for that long. Like these people have
Yeah.
existed for this long.
Yeah.
It's very interesting. It's like on Earth if like Buddha or Muhammad or Jesus like
Older
never
than-
died.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
And just kept on doing whatever it is they were gonna do.
Yeah. 40K timelines, when you actually look at the numbers, it's like, holy moly, like that's a long time.
Yeah.
Would this be a worthwhile digression? It's too late. Can you give me a brief timeline? What you know, like the rough edges of time in Warhammer 40K.
From whose perspective?
So is
Just
it
in general?
So it's the 41st millennium, right?
Yeah.
And is it the 41st millennium going from 0 AD human time?
Yeah.
So it is our galaxy and world.
We just use our time as like the measure, but like Necron and Eldar, who have been
Do they all
around,
have their own time systems?
They would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We actually found like a cool chart the other day. Oftentimes when we're talking about timelines, we'll say like during the dark age of technology, but that's a human timeline.
Yeah.
Like that's what the humans called that. So we found a chart that had like what the Eldar called from 0 M5 till,
Yeah, it
0,
used our
M10.
times, but
Yeah.
it was their own ages
Exactly,
and their
they had-
own
yeah.
like markers in their history, which
Yeah.
is pretty cool. Because
Yeah,
you
it's
don't
cool.
see that very often. Like you don't see history through the eyes of the Necron
Yeah.
or the Eldar, even though those are like the two oldest races in the galaxy,
Yeah.
right?
Kind of makes them scarier though when you don't really know exactly
Yeah,
what's
it
going
could be
on.
anything.
Deep time is always a freaky thing.
So let's talk about the purpose of homunculi. They're super ancient, we know that, but why? What?
And very secretive.
Very secretive. So the homunculi serve two very important functions within Dark Eldar society. The first function is the creation of the half-born. The walls of their laboratories are honeycombed with ambiotic tubes capable of gestating Eldar young. These breeding walls are fed fertilized eggs.
Delicious.
What's super creepy too about this image is these honeycombed walls are most likely made out of like these
Flesh.
fleshy sacks. Yeah,
Yeah.
exactly. And like,
Well, that would be the most natural experience, right?
yeah, like,
How big is a Dark Eldar egg?
I'm assuming
Do
it's
you
the
know?
same size as us originally, right? Microscopic.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Is it like a human ovum or is it?
Yeah, I'm assuming like the
Because
like
you can't
the-
even. That's not that gross if it's just.
No, it's just the fact that like the walls, like
Are they made out of the eggs?
the walls.
Yeah.
No, the walls are flesh. Like imagine like a honeycomb. How like they put like the
Wait,
egg.
you're saying that like it's weird.
What
Don't you guys have flesh walls?
is your house like? Yeah,
I don't want to know. I don't want to know.
but it like the walls are also like flexing and contracting.
yeah, and like we're talking like massive spaces.
yeah, we're
too,
talking like hundreds of feet long.
Oh, I see what you mean.
Like tens of
Okay.
Yeah.
like
feet
living walls.
Now
Yeah.
you
Living
and
walls.
now you guys are
pulsating and
painting a picture for me.
Yeah. I don't
Yummy.
mean like a wall like you have an abdomen wall. I mean like a wall of your house, but instead of drywall, it is flesh.
Yeah, like my
Flesh
house.
Yes, your house. You have a flesh house.
And that's not a euphemism for a brothel. How dare you? It's just literally a house made out of skin.
So, the half-born, with this technology that is millennia old, the growth of the embryos is hyper-accelerated until they are born, presumably in an extremely short amount of time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They didn't give like an exact amount that we could find, but like Eldar gestation is very long
Yeah.
compared to humans. And so this is supposed to hyper accelerate it. We're like, well, what if it just turns like a 3-year gestation period into like 5 days?
Yeah.
Right? Like,
Or it could be 9 months.
Yeah,
Which would still be quick for them, but
yeah, exactly.
it's hard to say. We don't know.
We don't know exactly, but hyper acceleration.
Yeah.
And then once the Eldar child is half-born, they are attended to by racks until they are handed off to whomever ordered them.
Yeah, so the majority of Cormora's population is born like this. It's very rare and like super honored to be considered a trueborn, where you have a male and female Dark Eldar who actually bang it out and make a baby. Super rare. Most likely.
I'm glad you're bringing this up, and I hope Christian
Banging it out.
I hope Christian is listening, because we were having an argument just last night where I was saying that the majority of the Dark Eldar population is half-born. And he was like, no, you don't know that. You don't know that for sure. And I'm like, I'm pretty sure you do.
Well, in the most honest answer, we don't know for sure. Games Workshop they never give exact numbers, but it's one of those things.
Yes.
If you read the text and you
It's
understand.
clearly implied.
It's clearly
That's what they
implied.
meant.
Yeah. Because it's an honor to be a trueborn. Like, there's not a lot of them. They usually have higher positions.
Yeah, they're
of
set
power.
apart.
Yeah.
Yeah, but when you can farm grow your population,
Yeah.
it's probably way more efficient.
Like,
Yeah,
and
exactly.
So even if there's 500,000 Dark Eldar females and the gestation period is X, right? If they all get pregnant and had a baby, and then at the same time, all the homunculi grow children, like, who's going to be done first?
Yeah.
The homunculi.
Yeah.
And then in the amount of time that it takes a Dark Eldar to gestate a full one, how many babies has each amniotic tube in the homunculi flesh walls birthed? Like, just simple math would say that it's way faster and way easier to do half-born. And all those Dark Eldar females who are pregnant, they can't go on raids now.
Yeah, exactly. And that's another thing I was going to say. Eldar society is very selfish. So,
If you're giving up all your potential raid to make a baby, not really worth it.
Yeah.
Do you guys think the Dark Eldar have Dark Eldar doulas and
like doulas?
Doulas? And do you think there's dark?
Doulas it helps you birth and walks you through the process.
Okay.
Holds your hand.
Yeah,
very hippie
birthing
kind
coach.
of thing. A
Yeah,
birthing coach.
Sure.
What about Lamaze? Do you think there's Dark Eldar Lamaze?
What are those?
That's this breathing technique that a lot of people do for going into labor.
I'm gonna say no.
I don't know. The breathing technique. Okay, breathe in and exhale with the loudest scream possible.
If anything, they're gonna.
They probably want to prolong the pain.
Yeah,
of childbirth, though,
Hold
right?
it in! So we got a couple cool thoughts here about the homunculi birthing process and stuff.
Yeah.
So the first question we're going to go into is just like we kind of mentioned how people will order from Haemonculi Covens, like X
Cabals will order a number of warriors to be given to them.
Yeah, exactly. So do we think they keep a stock?
So a stock is in a breeding stock.
Yeah.
And you got to imagine it just like a farmer would have a prized bull.
Yeah.
And a prized female cow to yes, I'll combine these two and I'll make the most delicious beef you've ever tasted in your life. Right? Do Dark Eldar homunculi have the same thing? Do they have a prized male Dark Eldar stud that they're constantly pulling his genetic material from?
That's actually what I was going to ask. Are the half-born clones? Or is it
It's
just
not clone, they're actual
born?
born.
So
born.
it's
They're fertilized eggs.
yeah, it's just artificial insemination.
Yeah.
And we don't have exact answers. That's why we're
Yeah, but it's kind of cool to think if all four of us are homunculi, right? And if Sam, you have the best male stock, that's
What are you talking about? This is not a hypothetical.
But I'm saying a cabal leader comes into the room and you charge more for all of your half-born that you create because they're great, they're amazing warriors. I charge slightly less. Jordan's charges slightly less, and Mark has shit for stock, right? Because he's constantly banging everything. It's a mess.
Oh yeah, I know. I fucked the babies.
Yeah,
for sure.
it's not great.
It's not good.
You basically used up all of your sperm. It's just
Sure.
just a puff of smoke comes out.
But yeah, I like to think of it. There's a difference in quality that the homunculi are able to give out, and it would drive a currency between the different ones, and so if you breed out traits you don't like in your stock, and you try and breed in traits you do like in your stock, and because you're doing this at an accelerated rate, you can actually accelerate the development of these like specific genes and traits you want.
And I can't imagine Dark Eldar would not come on to the idea of eugenics.
Oh,
You know what I mean? Like,
if
obviously.
something is
Well-
even slightly wrong, they'll just toss it out and make a new one.
Yeah.
And that's not even unique to Dark Eldar, I don't think.
No.
Within 40k. So.
Yeah.
But like the stock idea, I really
Yeah.
latched on to.
Yeah, I can just imagine like an Archon like combing the homunculi, different covens, and like, you know, inspecting what they can do, and like, oh, this one has a gestation period of 9 months. With this
Yeah,
one,
exactly.
This one's a little better, but it takes 12 months, and the Archon's like, well, I need it quick. I need to go do raids now. So
Yeah.
you know, you might cheap out on it, but it get them quicker. So
These ones have like a slight genetic
And
defect. And
would the Archons be like ancient sultans who had like a harem of like 50 women and 500 children? Or would that like be a bad political decision as a Dark Eldar? Because that's just
500
500 guys.
Yeah,
That's just
assassins.
500 people who have a good reason to kill you to take your stuff, right?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's just the idea that like they are trying to create something that is
Yeah.
worthwhile. And
yeah, it'd be cool too, like if you're writing your own lore for Homunculus Coven, to think about that, like to think about like what makes. Why are you giggling over there?
well, because we were talking. Never mind. Finish your thought.
No, it'd be cool, like if you're writing it, like this is a very important part about homunculi. It's not all just about torturing people and all that. Like selling your wares, selling your half-born is a very important part. So like coming up with like, yeah, maybe your half-born are known to be quicker, or you know,
Or maybe like you have to work through the fact that all of your homunculi, all of your half-born, for some reason, come out with like an extra pinky, and there's something wrong with your stock, and you have
Yeah,
to like try and figure out what happened.
yeah, it's just a little cool little story element you can add, and you can, you know, then
Someone is sabotaging your stock.
yeah,
right.
yeah, exactly.
I imagine a Dark Eldar looking at his wall of flesh eggs with like a clipboard, and he's got like
Flesh clipboard.
he's got no.
Well, it has like a hand coming out of the top of the
Exactly.
clipboard and the pen, and it writes whatever he dictates.
And the paper is of course vellum, so the skin of a human or something, and the pen is like a pinky. It's like the handle of the pen is made
just
out
has
of
the
bones or
nib
something
on it.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Don't like that.
Yeah. So there's nothing really in lore that says this whole like stock process, but it kind of felt like a logical conclusion.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
'Cause-
And it, like if Sam had like a really great male stock and I had a really great female stock, you know, we could work together to create super stock and sell it even higher or something. So
Yeah.
it kind of cool. It created like some sense of competition in my mind between homunculi.
Yeah. Yeah. And just further, like, kind of not proof, but like homunculi are all about like keeping their secrets and also experimenting and advancing their stuff. So like there definitely would be differences between the stock. They would have
Yeah, because they also have different preferences.
Yeah, exactly. There would have to be. So while it's not actually stated, it would have to be.
Yeah, and on tabletop, they're all like, oh, all Kabbalite warriors are the same. But yes, there's always going to be some variation.
Yeah. So I think that's pretty good on the first major function of the homunculi. Their second one, the second major function, is that of denying death. And I didn't know a lot about this. This is super interesting. So the homunculi have been deployed, have developed a way to bring Dark Eldar back from death, provided a piece of the Eldar is available.
Yeah. Note, not alive. A piece of the Eldar doesn't have to be alive.
Yeah.
It just has to be available.
Yeah.
That's the main thing you need to remember here.
Yeah.
So if that piece of Eldar reaches a homunculi within a single day, and one codex said, or very soon after,
Yeah.
they can be remade. And their body is regrown, starting with the skeleton, slowly working its way through softer tissues until even alabaster skin covers their body.
Have you guys seen, or listeners, I want to help paint this beautiful picture that Eric started. Either Hellraiser,
Yeah.
the horror movie, or The Fifth Element have scenes that are basically doing this process of regrowing a person.
What about the Watchmen?
Do they do it in the Watchmen as well?
Well, Dr. Manhattan kind of goes through that process of rebuilding himself, and they show the different stages he goes through.
I guess if you watch like X-Men, Wolverine, if you watch it in reverse,
Yeah.
he would then be regret.
Or who's the guy who turns invisible? There's like an Invisible Man movie. It's super old. It's like
Isn't it called The Invisible Man?
Is it?
I think
I don't know.
so.
It's like 15 years old.
Yeah, I
And
know.
I remember watching it, but I remember him being on the table and then slowly like he's disappearing like level by level.
Oh, jeez.
But that's like it would look like this,
Yeah.
right? Yeah. This idea that slowly you come back, like
Yeah.
layer by layer.
Yeah.
The Cenobites from Hellraiser, by the way, are essentially homunculi.
Okay. I've never seen Hellraiser.
You got to. If you guys are really getting into this dark Eldar stuff, you really got to watch Hellraiser.
So this is not accomplished through any marvel of science. Rather, it is fueled by the screams and agony of tortured victims residing directly beneath the operating table of their own pain slabs. Yeah. So we know that the Dark
Metal
Eldar,
lyric.
So we know that the Dark Eldar like will feed on the pain and the agony of
And it will even rejuvenize them and keep them
yeah,
young.
exactly.
Rejuvenate.
Yeah,
Not
exactly. Because
rejuvenize, that's not
Slaanesh
the
is
word.
always like eating their soul and eating their body away, so they have to like inflict pain on others to like fend off Slaanesh and to keep themselves young. So this is just like a super hyper accelerated.
Yeah,
version
it's
of
an
this.
extension of this.
Yeah.
It's if you follow the natural thought, like, hey, if I take a little bit of this soul, I'll look young. Well,
Yeah.
what looking young is nothing other than regenerating like your cells, right, in your skin. So what happens if like you're missing like a pinky? Can you feed off of a lot of like souls and like regenerate that entire pinky? And this is just an extension of that. What happens if you have a lot of pain and a lot of agony beneath you? Can you regenerate everything?
And aren't souls like the currency in Kimura as well?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But not like a lot of people
Like we want to make a comparison to how money works, and it's not.
well,
quite
no,
the same.
it's more like my first thought is always like, they have like souls in jars and they trade those. It's slaves. Slaves are like the currency in Kimura.
right. They're not doing what Link did in the Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time.
Yeah,
where
he's not like pulling souls out of people and like
putting them
holding
inside bottles.
Yeah, exactly. This is more of like the souls are kept within their flesh bodies and then they torture the flesh body.
Yeah.
Yeah. That's so slaves is the currency.
Flesh bottle.
Sure, yeah. A flesh bottle.
That's
There
how
we
I
go.
see you guys. You're just containers for souls that I'll trade.
So the regenerating body of the Eldar, of the Dark Eldar, is suspended in a cocooned state above the torture victims in a crystal-fronted sarcophagi. And as it feasts upon the shrieks from below, it begins to regrow what is lost. And eventually the body is completely restored, and the Dark Eldar has been resurrected.
So crazy.
So from beyond death.
Yeah. So there's a couple key things here. The biggest thing is this process has to be started within a day, or roughly within a day.
This is not science. There's no science to this.
No. Yeah, the Dark Eldar have developed a way for their soul to kind of cling onto their body for a day. So
It's said to be done through they're so vain
yeah,
that even their soul clings to like that which they were in life.
Yeah.
Because they're so like, no, this is my body that I crafted and I spent hundreds of years developing it. Like there's like a thread that of their soul from their body to their essence.
Yeah.
After they die.
Yeah. So the more vain, maybe they
The
can last
longer
2
they can
days,
last,
You know?
yeah.
But yeah. So that's a big thing. We got a couple questions here that we don't quite have answers for, but we got some cool thoughts. So the first one would be the rarity of being resurrected. So how often and what would it take to actually be resurrected? Because it's
one thing to say like, oh, you can do it.
yeah,
But like, how
does
much?
it? Yeah, does it actually happen to every Dark
Yeah,
Eldar?
is every Dark Eldar warrior being resurrected every time they die?
Yeah.
Where do you like?
It might be an economic decision.
Yeah, and
That's
yeah.
part of it.
If that warrior was particularly lethal in combat, they might be more likely
They have
to
a
be
worth,
resurrected.
a higher worth. Yeah.
They might even set up like deals with other members in their cabal to like, I have X amount of souls saved up. Like
This
if
many
you-
slaves, yeah.
Yeah. If you save my body, I will give you half of them. You know, like they might have these like contingency plans set up.
So does the fallen warrior, does their consciousness go with them to their
They're dead.
resurrected body?
Oh yes, so it brings their soul back
Oh,
from
okay.
wherever it went, and 'cause that's that link.
That was
that
going to
they
be
had.
my question, actually. Where does their soul go? Do they just get taken to the warp or Slanesh? Or?
Like after the day, then they would get taken to the warp and feasted on by Slanesh. Yeah, just like any soul type thing goes into the warp.
Is that all souls in Warhammer go to the warp?
Yeah.
If you have one.
Yeah.
Looking at you, Tau.
Don't they just have very small souls, though?
Yeah,
Tell
exactly.
us
Super
souls.
power. They're all just gingers.
So small. Our soul is so small compared to big American soul. So yeah, the rarity of being resurrected. So like your crew, your friends, if you can call them that, have to bring a piece of you back to the homunculi.
Yeah.
Right? And then the homunculi has to agree. You have to pay the homunculi for doing this service. And then lastly, every time you do this, you actually leave a piece of your soul with the homunculi. So do you want to do that? Do you want to leave a portion of your soul behind with this master torturer? It's...
Maybe.
So it is rare. Like the idea that everyone is being resurrected this way is a falsehood.
Yeah.
You shouldn't assume that it's happening all the time.
Yeah.
But they do state that in times of war, their tables are full.
Yeah.
And they are constantly resurrecting people. But you just got to think these are officers, these are trueborns.
Yeah.
These are members that are particularly rich.
Yeah.
Right, so
I really don't think just a regular Cabalite warrior who just joined the Cabal is being
not super
brought
likely.
back.
Not
Yeah,
likely.
Exactly.
Can happen, sure,
Yeah.
but not going to happen all the time.
Yeah. The other big determining factor for the rarity of this is how much of the Eldar's body do you actually need? And we were reading this one thing about, and it's called a master homunculus who was able to miraculously bring back a Dark Eldar with only the hand remaining. And this
So
was
he regrew an entire skeleton from a hand.
and this was considered a crazy feat.
Yeah. Oh, and it was unblemished too, because you can regrow these bodies and they can be tainted or misshapen or misfigured, or you can do something wrong with it.
Yeah.
So
Yeah, so just using that, you would need a lot of the body. You're not just bringing back a finger and regrowing or maybe you are, but
you better give it to a master homunculus.
Yeah, and even then it's you might come back with
You might come back messed up.
all your hands are just pinky fingers. Or
Yeah, no,
something,
exactly.
you know?
There's a real possibility
Yeah.
that they mess up something in the regrow.
All your hands?
all your hands are just pinkies.
All
Yes.
two.
All 7 of them.
Yeah, yeah.
He just turned you into a rack. Fuck it, I can't do anything with this.
Yeah, so that's kind of
You need
Talking
you
about
need
the
a
rarity.
decent amount of their body.
yeah. So that would just increase the rarity too, because somebody would literally have to then drag you back. It's not they just quickly cut off your finger and then he's fine now. Yeah, you'd have to bring that whole body back pretty much.
Yeah.
And even in war, you're getting shot by a Necron's gauze flare.
A molecularly, it flays you molecule by molecule. There's no piece to come back.
Yeah,
from on
exactly.
that.
So
A bolter round, that's a radioactive nuclear bomb in
no,
a shell.
no, it definitely is not. You son of a bitch.
Just kidding. We haven't gone through bolters yet and how they work. But yeah, and this is one of the reasons why Dark Eldar actually do their raids at a breakneck speed. They have to be fast, because if they do want to resurrect any member that's fallen, they need to get them back within a day. And so that's a portion of, that's their necessity for speed, really.
Yeah.
Because they want to stay alive, right?
Yeah.
So
It's all part of that metal lifestyle. It's living fast.
live fast, die hard, come back to life, do it again.
That's right. Ride your hover bike or whatever. They have those, right?
Yep.
Yeah. There was also another kind of, we were wondering well, okay, when an Eldar dies, is their soul not consumed by Slanesh?
Yeah.
Right? We're well, how, that's why the Eldar, have that soul stone.
Yeah.
So their soul immediately goes into that, so there's no chance of it going into the warp and Slanesh consuming them.
Yeah.
So we're well, how does the Dark Eldar soul actually survive outside of their body, for at least a whole day? It's supposed to be she who thirsts, who's the devourer, constantly trying to steal your soul.
Yeah.
And it Slanesh is also said to be constantly feeding off the souls of the Dark Eldar. So it's not she's far away either.
Yeah.
Or her demonettes aren't they're constantly there trying to harvest. So we're
Yeah.
well, how then do they survive for a full day? And there's no good answer for this, but we found one that we both like.
Which was?
Which was that they're able to stave off Slaaneish's attention or the demon's attention for a full day.
Yeah.
And like if Slaanesh is like individually coming to get you, you're fucked. You can't fight a chaos god. But if Slaanesh is just sending its demons after you, like you're strong enough in the warp as an Eldar to actually fight them off for at least a day.
Yeah.
So this was kind of like a nice thing that we saw.
Yeah. Yeah, the other thing could be that, they literally just don't go into the warp.
Yeah, they could just cling to their body
exactly.
for as long as possible.
So, but it's hard to say. There's not a lot of exact science.
I think you could write a story, if you wanted to write one, you could write one either way of how like the Dark Eldar soul goes into the warp and fights off these like demons. And there's like that impending doom, like Slaanesh is actually coming closer and closer. You're under a time limit. And could also just be you're stuck in your boat, like your spirit is like hovering around your body, like waiting for it to be regrown. And there's the time limit of can you hold on for as long as it takes to regrow? And
there must be some kind of like soul reaper demon though, who's got like that job.
All demons, I assume.
Yeah, pretty much.
Feast.
All demons just want to feast on your energy. Yeah.
So that's the second function.
Yeah. So those are the two main functions, and as you can tell, like they are essential to Dark Eldar society. Without them,
Gamora would fall.
Gamora would definitely not be the same place.
Yeah.
So let's talk about individual homunculi. Homunculi? Which was the correct way? Homunculi?
Individual
Homunculusi.
Homunculuses.
That's fine. I didn't want to have a good day anyway.
So we'll start off with their creation. Homunculus are not created through any conventional sense or by any one method. In fact, most are thousands of years old, with the most senior being over 12,000 years old. Each homunculus presents unique skills and desires, depravities earned over a long course of their immoral lives.
Immoral, not immortal.
I had to
we could have put immortal in there, but immoral I felt better.
Yeah.
Debaucherous.
So being originally part of the pleasure cults, or at least that's what we expect, these Eldar would have pushed the limits of their imaginations to experience everything the galaxy had to offer. They constantly experimented with their senses to develop extremely particular tastes and preferences.
Oof, delicious. If a Dark Eldar goes down the path of the Pain Lords, he is already steeped in the the jumping around of that message thing.
The cursor.
Sorry, guys.
No, it's all good. If a Dark Eldar goes down the path of Pain Lords, he is already steeped in the evil that permeates Cormorra. His journey is one involving much less trial and error, and more so developing his skills and his tastes.
Yeah. As I was reading, I kind of painted a picture to Mark of the differences between an original homunculi versus a homunculi that would emerge through today's society.
Yeah.
So like, and I guess I'll try and paint it for you guys. So there's the old Eldar who were masters of the galaxy. Like they owned everything, right? It was their pick. Anything they wanted. They ruled the galaxy. And so these guys slowly learned how boring life was. So they just constantly invented different ways to experience and to taste things and stretched their preferences and what they liked. And so these guys had to experiment. Yeah. And they had to be imaginative in an area that like their imagination had never gone in before. It's like stretching a different muscle. Yeah. Right?
And the Eldar and the Dark Eldar, are they all immortal?
Yes.
Have they always been immortal?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's sort of like where that idea of getting so debaucherous and out there is just because eternity is a long time, especially towards the end.
Yeah. I get it. But yeah, they had to like do something completely different from what society had said to them. So they're like the outliers.
Yeah.
Right? But now, like in Gamora, any Dark Eldar that exists in Gamora is already part of a disgusting society.
Yeah, they've been raised feeding on the souls and the pain of others just to survive.
They already understand that agony is the way to go.
Yeah.
Right? And so I think it's a different Eldar. It takes a different Eldar to be a homunculi now than it did back then.
Yeah.
Like you were a special breed. I like to think of it as like there's like a special breed of Eldar. Like any of the original homunculi are like in a class all their own. And any of the ones that come after, while still being like homunculi, they just aren't as I don't know, developed seems like the wrong word, because obviously they're masters of evil and agony and torture themselves. But they just, it seems almost to be like a lesser.
Yeah.
I don't know.
I know what you're saying. I kind of threw this idea out. So it's like the first person to jump, you had to imagine jumping, you know, like if you've never seen anybody jump,
you don't know if you're going to survive. Yeah, you don't know what it's going to feel like.
You could fly off into space. You don't know what would happen if both your feet leave the ground, right?
Well, I mean, until Galileo invented gravity, humans could fly, right?
Yeah. So it's like, it takes that creative flair of actually thinking
the risk. It's the risk.
Yeah, I'm gonna try to jump and see what happens. Where, you know, everyone else who comes after, they didn't have that original concept. They've seen somebody jump. They might come up with new ways to jump. Like, oh, instead of launching off of 1 foot, I'm gonna launch off 2. But that original creative thought has already been created. Like that concept is already thing. So yeah, the original ones would have been way more like out there, and like that you can't follow their train of thought because it's so unique.
Yeah, I just and I don't think this is super represented in like obviously tabletop, because tabletop can't represent anything well. But even in like their story, I don't think they really make a distinction between like the original homunculi versus new homunculi, and I think that would be a cool conflict in your story.
Yeah,
because I even assume like just from what I've learned of like Dark Eldar is that even those original homunculi view any of the new ones as like an upstart.
Yeah,
and,
yeah,
like,
you definitely would.
Yeah, like you're like you don't know as
12,000-year-old being.
Yeah, versus like a 4,000-year-old.
Yeah,
like
weak.
Yeah, exactly. That's
barely off of his mother's teat. 4,000 years old.
Barely off the rack's teat. But that's kind of how I view like their life.
Yeah,
is how, I don't know.
Yeah,
that's what I saw.
Yeah. They spend millennia working on their craft, whether it's torture, flesh crafting, giving life to the half-born, or resurrecting the fallen Drakari. Their secrets, they learn, are earned in blood and screams, and only under great exceptions are these shared with others, or even more rare with outsiders. Yeah, so, and that's the other thing, like, this isn't like a master-apprentice thing, where a homunculi is training another homunculus, and like this is the proper way to do it. Like they're all pretty much left to their own devices, literally.
Well, because each one experiences pleasure.
Never leave a Dark Eldar alone with his device.
Yeah, kill them, right? kill the Xeno.
Yeah.
But each one's journey and like pleasure and fulfillment is separate from another.
Yeah, and
no, like Mark and I aren't going to get the same pleasure from making the same incision. Like Mark prefers to like make a cut.
I'm a horizontal, you're a vertical.
Right, exactly. Like we want to do things differently in our own way that we've developed.
Yeah, yeah.
So there's differences. Like you can be like, yes, like I removed the brain and put it here, and Mark's like, touche, my chap. Like,
I removed the body and keep the brain here.
Yeah, exactly. Like there's that things which we assume they share and talk about, but in the end, like your craft is your own. It's your personal style.
Yeah. But having said that, you know, it's 40K. There's always going to be exceptions, and the one cool exception we found to this, like this keeping your secrets, is Fulgrim of the Emperor's Children.
Fabius Bile.
Fabius Bile. I mean, yeah, sorry. Actually went and trained with the homunculus and was taught kind of these flesh crafting secrets.
A couple of them, yeah.
Yeah.
So, not all of them, but
yeah. There are super rare exceptions out there where if you really wanted to tell a story of the master homunculi and his apprentice, you could. It's out there.
It is.
But
just don't make yourself a, what's it called? What's the male version of the Mary Sue?
John Doe.
Gary Stu.
Gary Stu, yeah. Just don't make yourself a Gary Stu where all of a sudden you're like, I created these men that are the most powerful in the universe.
Yeah,
just
you never want to be that guy. You never want to be that guy or the spell checker guy. You never want that.
This really is seeped into
the grammar Nazi.
The grammar Nazi. You never want to be those guys.
Yeah, so they are very secretive people.
Yeah. So let's talk about their appearance. No two homunculi look alike. Their modifications that they apply are each as bizarre and twisted as the mind that imagined it.
Dirty.
What?
Their bodies are so old and twisted that they can no longer benefit from the youthful invigoration of souls that the younger Dark Eldar enjoy. So no matter how many souls they torture and consume, they can't like get back that youthful appearance.
Yeah.
It's also said that a lot of them remove like their lips.
Really?
Yeah. So they're constantly like showing their teeth in like a rictus like smile. Like you don't know if they're smiling or whatever because they're just.
I wish I knew a mouth of Sauron line. Yeah, there you go. Good enough.
Yeah. Where's the camera when you need it? Yeah. I think they also remove their eyelids.
Very nice.
Yeah. Crazy world.
So you don't waste time sleeping or what?
I truly don't think they need to sleep. If I had to guess.
Well, not anymore. Not without your eyelids.
So while each homunculi looks completely different, some might like morph themselves into like these hulking beasts. Other ones might like turn themselves into like a weird spider type creature.
But there does seem to be a uniformity in sense of a fashion that might have been a holdover from ancient Eldar.
Yeah.
Which is the perfect segue for the next point.
It is common for homunculus to remove their internal organs and relocate them to their back, covering them in a protective layer of muscle.
So that's like your lungs, your heart, your stomach, your intestines. Everything is just taken out of this general area and placed right there on your back, Jordan.
That's a good spot to put it.
That seems like bad planning.
Well, no. So one of the reasons why they do this is it's easier to experiment and manipulate and drug your organs if they're more accessible. You don't have to.
You don't have to go through rib cages or anything like that, or like snake, like avoid the heart by hitting to hit the lungs or something. Like everything is just ready for you.
Yeah. Another one could be it's relocated to the back because it's easier to defend your back than on the front. You know, you can get shot in the stomach then 1,000 times, and it's like, well, it's just.
Because that's true.
Yeah.
That one seems weird to me. Another thought that I could have is, so a lot of times they add extra limbs to themselves.
Yeah.
Well, it's easier to connect them to like the blood sources and the oxygen sources if they're all just right on your back, and that's where you're adding the limbs, right? Sorry, Jordan, I'm just
keep touching people. Oof. Oh yeah,
I don't like this.
He does.
I just worked on my back yesterday too.
Oh, nice.
So it's like, not too much.
Jordan, put your pants back on.
Worked on his back, now he needs his legs done.
So when they remove this they remove all their internal organs, right?
Yeah.
And they put them on their back. This makes the midsection of the homunculus look eerily thin, and it's described as being waspish, which you'll hear a couple more times in this episode.
So like Marilyn Manson.
All right.
Yeah.
I don't think they're sucking their own penis. And
they don't? I'm pretty sure they are.
They actually remove the penis and
put it on their back.
No, they implant it in their cheek.
They can always be sucking their own dick.
And they put like metal corsets, like they bind them around their spines. And this could be just a simple byproduct of the fact that they're removing their limbs and
if you
everything.
have nothing to keep up your body.
Yeah, so they're like putting something there to protect it, or and it's a throwback to the ancient fashion trends of the pre-fall Eldar, which is kind of cool. Like if anyone wanted to keep it up, it would be these guys who have been around for so long. So
they experimented everything except fashion sense.
No, they found the perfect one.
They found the perfect fashion sense.
Remove all your internal organs and put them on your back. That's it. You did it.
So another very common modification is the adding of limbs, which we just talked about. These limbs would be grown and shaped by the homunculus themselves for a very specific purpose, whether that is in the field of battle or in the lab.
Yeah, it's described too that they'll have like a selection of limbs that, you know, they'll
like flesh closets. Like they'll just open them up and there's just limbs upon limbs.
I think it's flesh libraries.
Yeah, you're right. Flesh libraries. They're like libraries. Like, yes, today I'll go for this limb. Yeah, and
there's my favorite shooting up limb.
No, exactly. Like this.
There's my scalpel fingers.
Like that's so cool to think of. Like then they have to grow these limbs and everything, and so it takes like serious knowledge to like build these limbs. And the more complicated you want the limb to
I'm married to this limb. You can only imagine what its function is.
It's a fleshlight, but it's an actual flesh. Anyway. Jordan likes that.
No, thank you.
Hand check.
Yeah. Whoa, Jordan. Jordan, put your pants back on.
I'm keeping my loins warm. That's all.
Yeah. So they'll just have a bunch of different selection of limbs, and they'll add and remove them. And when they're going into battle, they're definitely going to be bringing their battle limbs.
Gird yourself up for war.
The only limit to the modification is the imagination of the homunculus. They are so prodigious in the craft that they can and will create practically anything.
There's not really like a limit to what they can create. They've been doing it for so long. They can break so many barriers that we would consider impossible. They can graft anything.
Do they have flesh ships?
Absolutely, they do. Yeah.
Nice. Yeah, flesh fortresses and shit.
Yeah, they like fly and like walk and move and everything. Like it's pretty wild.
Yeah.
Yeah.
There's one thing that the homunculus share among their kind, and that's a disdain for beings that are forced to walk upon the ground. The core of a homunculi rarely, if ever, will touch the ground, instead opting to slither on elongated spines, hover on suspensor crystals, or even borne aloft by writhing nests of hemovores.
It's a very strange thing to be prejudiced about.
Yeah.
Those assholes walking.
It's like, I think it's like it's an elevation, right? They elevate themselves above what the laymen have to do.
Yeah.
Right.
Makes
And
sense.
it doesn't really offer any benefit other than the fact that they do it and no
looks
one else
cool.
does. Yeah. It does look cool. Pretty cool. Yeah.
Yeah, I just get the picture of Spider-Man when he has Iron Spider-Man when he has the limbs come out of his back, like the metallic limbs,
Or
and,
just Doc Ock.
or Doc Ock, sure, yeah. But I was thinking Spider-Man.
Well, you would because you like him, you loser. Doc Ock is the better character.
So much more depth into his backstory. And I can just picture that the homunculus having these arms that just going out of their back, and
That's the perfect example.
Yeah.
He created Doc Ock, they created these arms and they attached them and now they work as part of it. That's exactly what a homunculus would do, right?
very gross.
Very gross.
Yeah.
All right, that's about everything.
They're-
That's
yeah.
everything about them.
Yeah, their appearance, it can be anything.
That's everything.
That's everything. We're done.
We covered every detail.
That's half a page of Let's Canon for you right there. All our knowledge. So while the purpose of the homunculi are to, grow the half-born and to resurrect the dead, that's not what that's a byproduct. That's an afterthought.
That's a service they provide.
That's a service, yeah. What they're actually passionate about, though,
Yes,
is
what they truly
this is what they
enjoy.
enjoy.
Yeah,
It's their calling.
This is their calling.
Their raison d'etre.
exactly.
Their true passions lie elsewhere.
Yes.
The homunculus exists to witness and give pain and agony to others. Their joy is found in the chorus of screams of their victims, as well as the visual stimulus of watching those under their knife writhe in agony.
Delicious,
That's what
delicious
they
torture.
They
And some homunculi have developed such singular taste that they will only kill a specific species or even a specific age. So, it goes without saying that the Dark Eldar probably have a lot of fetishes and
Yes.
and that kind of thing,
Yes.
and that's kind of what this is hinting at. There's a mention of a homunculus that would only consume the distilled essence of the liver of a courageous human planetary governor, and only there would he be fulfilled.
So, that just shows you how particular they've learned to be
When you live for
refined
10,000
their
years.
tastes are.
refined. Yeah.
and what's crazy too is they season their food with these different essences. So this one adds a nice courage flavor to
Yeah,
it.
they literally have
Yeah.
they have such taste, but that they feel they can taste joy and courage. They can taste these things that are, when they're in abundance in the slave that they're distilling down.
Yeah.
They know courage is found in the spleen and joy is found in this. And that's that they've turned it into like a science.
The
for
eyeballs
them.
are just for texture. They don't have a flavor.
Right, but it's like
They're just a
that's
texture thing.
It has a real smoky, courageous aftertaste.
and this isn't to like keep them alive at all.
No,
this is
just
purely for enjoyment. They take this distilled flavor and they'll put it on a piece of their food and they will enjoy the food.
Yeah, it goes back to like the whole pleasure cults things and always like trying to get that new experience.
Everything and have every iota of sensation that the universe can give you.
Yeah. And of course, they just like to share those experiences with others by torturing them.
Right, of course, yeah.
Yeah.
You're going to give me so much pleasure.
And in return,
But that's very generous of them.
they're very generous, yes.
There's a story of a homunculus, and the only drink he truly enjoys is, it's like a champagne flute, but instead of champagne, he puts the tears of like some specific race, and he'll
tears of liberals.
Liberal cocks.
But like there's like he'll
I don't think
torture.
they'd be into that because there's so many. You know, it's like
Oh, it's not very rare.
Yeah, exactly. It's
Not very particular.
There's just
Okay, fair
oceans
enough.
of them on every world where Terrans live.
But yeah, like he truly enjoys like the tears, and that's the only actual drink he finds like satisfaction out of. So
It's weird.
it's pretty wild.
So because of this passion, the skill set they have developed has left every other inhabitant of Komorag in complete and utter terror of them.
Yeah.
They are truly evil.
Yeah.
Like they're like what their purpose is and what they do and how they do it is considered like the most evil in Komorra.
Yeah. Somebody definitely gets off by cutting people's fingers off and then like eating it in front of their victim.
Or forcing the victim to eat
it.
to eat it,
Themselves.
right?
Yeah,
or
exactly.
like but
And
getting
then-
a family and forcing like the family like it just
Yeah.
whatever level of depravity you can think of,
But
these guys do it.
I have to dispute this idea that the inhabitants of Komorra are in utter fear of them, because based on your description of Komorra, like you're never not in utter fear if you're living in Komorra.
There is a truth to that.
What's the difference?
But it's like, would you rather be caught by a gang of reavers or would you rather be caught by a homunculus?
I guess the reavers would kill you quickly. You're right.
Right, like the homunculus, like you have you can't even imagine what level of pain they can give you. Reavers, you can quantify it, like, oh, they're gonna chop me up into little pieces and then
Make me
whatever.
into a stew.
Right, exactly. Like, okay, a homunculus is gonna do it, and then he's gonna resurrect me, and then he's gonna do it again, and then
for
he's
all
gonna
eternity.
exactly. Like, what's worse, right? Like, so there is like a fear of them that is greater than other things.
Yeah. Another passion of the homunculi is in the creation of their monstrosities. Because they view themselves above other mortals, they create beings to fulfill mundane duties for them, such as babysitting and going to war.
We kind of mentioned
mundane.
before.
Mundane, yes.
I love the idea of Dark Eldars hiring a homunculus babysitter.
Well, it's this was more of a throwback joke to the fact that when they're building their half-born, once they are born, like imagine he's like batched 5,000 like babies, like the homunculus isn't looking after them. He just gets his racks to do that.
There's probably some homunculus that specializes in creating like babysitter.
They also like going on long walks in dark alleys of Cormorant and watching the reavers fly above them.
Yeah. So
Sounds relaxing.
They have
It's
some
peaceful.
simple pleasures.
so let's talk about homunculi creations.
Yeah, like they are masters of flesh. They would literally just like grow entire beings or take existing ones and turn them into these other crazy fucking flesh monstrosities.
Mold muscle and tissue to whatever shape they desire,
Yeah.
to hold whatever instruments they want. So
Yeah.
yeah, they're masters of the biological.
Yeah. So the most common thing that homunculi will make are called racks. Racks are dark Eldar slaves used by the homunculi to fill all manner of purposes. And this goes back to that babysitting. They go to war. You know, they might just help.
It's in surgery.
Yeah, exactly.
Everything and anything.
There's
They're
one
like
that just
Igor kind of characters.
Yeah.
But useful.
Yeah.
Their bodies are flesh changed and steroid ridden, often having gone through surgeries to rearrange their internal organs for better access.
You got to have good access.
Access is very important. Their limbs are often shaped to specific purposes, like we said, jerking off, with some racks even sporting multiple appendages. Like they have like some arms they've crafted where like the inside of the palm is just like super like, you know, leathery. It can withstand the constant friction.
Sure. But it also secretes a lube at the same time.
And I can only imagine that a Dark Eldar's dick is like really spiky.
It's like a cat penis.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's canon. Yeah. They commonly wear a slitted mask covering their whole face, and also have the waspish waist that their masters wear. Yeah. So if you look at their models, even you can see it's all like tight, tucked in, like
it's a weird little corset.
Yeah. Racks are bound to their creator and have next to no say in their day-to-day lives.
Yeah. This could be done a couple different ways. We kind of just spitballed ideas.
Yeah, it could literally be like they put like a pheromone secretor in the homunculus, and then all the racks have like the sensor or whatever, so they like feed off that pheromone that they're putting out.
Are racks kind of like Frankenstein's, or
not really? No. They're not. They were Dark Eldar slaves that have just been modified.
Okay.
But they're not like stitched together.
So they're like the Empire. The Imperium has like
servitor
cyborgs that are like. Is it kind of like that, or
closer but not fully?
Okay, it's its own thing.
Yeah.
Because they still have like they have brains.
Yeah.
Still, like they have next to no say, but that doesn't mean they have no independence.
Yeah.
Right. It just means like for whatever reason, like right now they've been chemically like subdued.
I mean, I imagine that Dark Eldar learned how to perform a frontal leucotomy in like kindergarten.
I don't think these guys have done that though, or at least no. At the very least, in one particular coven that we'll talk about later, like racks are really important. So the racks seem more like. They are slaves, but this last aspect that we're going to talk about, so I'll just say it right now. The most disturbing aspect of Rackhood is that they all volunteer to be changed into them. They've given up on the boring life of a Dark Eldar. So they view their life as like, I've seen everything. Like, I'm going to go experience something else now. So they volunteer to be a rack.
Do any of you guys listen to Savage Love cast?
No.
So, and I don't either, but in S&M parlance, the racks are the bottoms of these relationships, or the subs. Is kind of the idea. They're like willingly being slaves, because that's ends up being the kind of thing that gets them off at the end of the day.
That very well could be like what it is here. This rack, like you could make a decision like I want to be like changed and shaped and everything, and a homunculus will do that for you. Or the other is just I want to be around people who experience new things, because inevitably, like
you have adventures.
Yeah, you would. Like you participate in the tortures, you participate in the surgeries.
Yeah,
like you'll still you.
You'll benefit from like whatever wealth your homunculi.
Yeah, absolutely.
Right? Like you'll probably be living in his flesh castle.
Yeah, like he's shaping your like limbs.
His castle made out of infant teeth.
Yeah, why not? That's what he likes.
Oh my god. Don't like that.
But the volunteer is a very big deal.
Yeah.
Because it changes kind of like how you view them completely.
Yeah. Oof. Don't.
It would not 0 out of 10 would not volunteer again.
No.
To be a rack. Did it once.
Once was enough.
Yeah. No thanks.
Yeah. Yeah, so racks are pretty crazy. They just do everything, you know. They're just there, the servants.
So maybe I was jumping the gun with my Frankenstein.
Yes,
they're
that.
I was going to go to.
Yes.
Is Grotesques, are they the Frankenstein?
That is much more.
Or the Frankenstein monsters, I should say.
Frankenstein's monster.
Unlike the racks, becoming a grotesque is not a voluntary process. And it's usually reserved for prisoners, victims, and enemies. And I imagine if you just like need a lot of labor done, you might just go on a random raiding party and somewhere in the slums of Camorra. Do they raid in Camorra?
100%.
Yeah. Becoming a grotesque is a long process and ends with you becoming a towering monstrosity of flesh. Like they're tall, and there can be no limit to their size. Like
yeah.
Yeah.
But there doesn't need to be a logical explanation for how they look either. You don't have to have 2 legs and a body and 2 arms.
Yeah.
I think in Skyrim, in one of the expansion packs, they have essentially Grotesques as one of the monsters that you have to fight, and it's very unpleasant trying to get up close and personal and intimate with this giant reeking. Well, I mean, if you want to go up and
if you're looking for a wife and
it's
you've
for
already been to
science.
pot,
If you want to put something hard inside somebody's body,
a sword.
a sword.
Yes,
I consider that intimate.
Or whatever you're into, you know. So the victim is injected with growth elixirs, macro steroids, and muscle stimulants. As well, their bone growth is driven to hyperactivity. Appendages are normally removed to be replaced with weapons of war, such as maces or clubs or whatever you want.
Yeah, and this would be another key difference between Grotesques and Racks is Grotesques are usually just like enforcers. They're not helping in surgery.
I think this lends like the brain activity of a Grotesque versus a Rack.
Exactly.
A Rack needs to be like
aware.
They need to be
conscious,
focused and everything because they're helping like torture and like the last thing a homunculi wants is like a homunculus wants is like a wasted experiment, right? And if a Rack's like slip up causes like their patient to die, what a waste.
Yeah.
Right. So the Rack needs to be.
Do you think Dark Eldar really, even if they are performing medicine, ever really look at it as a patient, or is it just a subject?
Yes.
You know what I mean?
Yeah. Not a patient. Not a patient.
I imagine that word doesn't exist in the Dark Eldar tongue.
Yeah, so Grotesques are
just victim.
Victim. Yeah, so
Friend.
Grotesques are friend.
Same thing for a Dark Eldar.
Exactly. Yeah, victim and friend. It's the same word.
Yeah, so Grotesques, they're just used for war. They're enforcers. So Grotesque also has the completion of the process is the lobotomization of the victim, removing their independence and allowing the homunculus complete control of their creation. So that's another huge difference. Is they're actually lobotomized.
As I was imagining with the Racks.
Yeah.
And being the psych nerd that I am, I'm really interested in how similar the lobotomy process for Dark Eldar would be to humans. Because there are like a bunch of different ways, though, that you can lobotomize a person.
I like going in through the nose.
Right. You can go in through the nose.
Yeah.
The easiest way is to go in
I don't like the easy way.
Through the ear,
through the
eye
corner
ducts.
of your eye into the frontal lobes, and then they get a little hammer, and the surgeon taps it, tap 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 tap. Now it's in your frontal lobe, and now they go and just scramble it like eggs. There's actually a neurosurgeon. He was doing this as late as the 50s in the U.S. who had a van.
Oh yeah, he's the traveling guy,
And he would he was the guy who invented this surgery.
Crazy how often they did it too back then.
And he for the most ridiculous of reasons too.
And he apparently
you got clubfoot. Might as well lobotomize you.
You might be a little dangerous, maybe at some point in your life. That's okay.
I think he might have been German too, by the way.
Doesn't surprise me.
Who took the American dream and moved to the States and made it big, lobotomizing people. But anyway, he would actually make a show of it, and he would time himself. And rumor has it he even did 2 people at once a couple of times because he'd done so many of these that he could just bam, bam.
Yeah,
you could literally do it in 30 seconds.
I listened to a podcast once about it, and it was pretty wild.
It is rank. It is as bad as any of the stuff we've been talking about so far.
He's the
hardcore.
original homunculi.
I think we found it.
Yeah.
Okay, so
That's a grotesque.
Yeah. Up next, we got the Talos Pain Engine.
it's a semi-sentient, part organic, part mechanical monster.
Yeah, and this is crazy because this is made. This isn't using Grotesques and Racks. They actually use.
They come from a
existing-
base.
Yeah, exactly. This is fully.
These are grown.
Yeah. They are the peak of homunculus creations and are used as both guard creatures as well as mobile torture
Keep
chambers.
fucking up the plural and singular.
I can barely read. Don't give me a hard time.
Yeah, what gives, actually? This is pretty impressive, Mark.
I've been studying, man. I've been.
The text is even facing the right way.
That's just because the cord plugged in there.
Oh, okay.
So I got lucky on that end.
So during battle, a Talos will feed on their victims layer by layer, and they're given tools and arms and guns, like in order to do this. And they'll remove like the layer by layer. Like they'll remove your skin, and then they'll remove your muscle, and they'll remove your nerves or whatever. They'll just go layer by layer, extracting everything.
On your bones.
Yeah. Until they've extracted like your very essence, which they will hold, and this will be fed upon later by the Dark Eldar.
By the homunculus specifically.
Yes. By their master.
Yeah. And it's just basically, crazy.
But these are huge things.
Machine. Yeah.
Like if you look at them, they kind of have like a scorpion feel.
Yeah, sure.
To them in terms of like there's the main body with bunch of legs everywhere, and then like a large tail that like kind of curves.
Yeah, I think even like
and arcs back over.
Do they have school model
like insectoid armor? Or?
Yeah.
It's like a carapace type deal.
Yeah. But their original model was essentially a scorpion. Like it looked like a scorpion.
Yeah.
Before they got an updated model.
And when I was first looking at them, I didn't really have like a scale in like the art.
Yeah.
And so I was like, oh, mobile torture chamber. That's dumb. Like it can't fit a human on their back.
Original model.
But they are actually large enough to fit. Like I imagine like their carapace on their back opens up, and there's literally like a room inside them that they'll place like some victims.
Like more like a coffin. More like a coffin than a room.
Sure.
Yeah.
Full of like needles and torture things and
just wet walls.
Yeah, they'll just like, extract your
fucking wet.
I imagine Kimura is very wet.
It's moist
and humid too, because people are just constantly like fucking and sweating. And it's like part of the atmosphere is vaporized fuck sweat.
I like that.
I'm gonna have to take a shower after this episode. It's brutal.
Get all that metal off.
To Purell my brain.
So there's a variant of the Talos paint engine. It's more just like it's more just another type of
it looks
part
very
organic,
similar.
part semi-sentient, part mechanical creation that they make.
It's just equipped very differently.
And it's called the Kronos Parasite, and it appears very similar, but will absorb life energies of the enemies around it to bolster Dark Eldar with the energy. So basically, it sucks in people's souls to some degree, and then the Dark Eldar are able to feast off like that
quote unquote souls.
Yeah, exactly. Energies, life force.
Aura.
Yeah. And then so where one is made more for destruction, the Kronos Parasite is made more for like support
through destruction.
Yeah, I'm sure it's not a good feeling to have your soul sucked.
I doubt it.
But who's to say?
It might feel great.
You just gotta find a girl who's really knows what she's doing around a soul.
Around a soul. She really knows her way around a soul. Don't like that.
The last thing we're going to talk about for their creations is flesh monstrosities. And this is anything and everything that they'll create that doesn't fall into the grotesque category. Because racks are they're very particular. So are Talos paint engines and Kronos.
Yeah.
So grotesques are like whatever you want made out of these people. Flesh monstrosities are taking everything that they have and putting it to the next level.
Yeah, literally like a flesh monstrosity could be
like your flesh castle.
Exactly. It could be that honeycomb flesh wall.
Like you have to grow that, right?
Yeah.
You can't just like build it. It has to be grown and manipulated by your skills.
So a flesh monstrosity is like a very general category.
It's a catch-all kind of. Yeah. We talked earlier about how Fabius Bile studied under a specific coven. I think it was the Coven of the 12, actually. And when they found out that he was sharing their secrets, they like marshaled their forces, and it says they brought life to their flesh monstrosities, these fortresses of theirs that maneuvered their way towards them. They had pitched battle versus Fabius Bile, where their monstrosities were like firing things and like stomping everything. It's like imagine like an organic knight.
Yeah.
Right? Or like even bigger, like what about an organic titan?
Yeah.
Like
exactly.
That's what these guys are creating in their lairs.
Once again, like the only limit to this is their imagination. Like they'll make whatever the fuck they want.
for whatever purpose they desire worthy. Yeah, but that's like a flesh monstrosity. You can think of these massive creations.
Do you guys know Homestar Runner?
Oh yeah, bud.
I can't remember which one it was, but in some Halloween special, I think somebody's dressed up as something very disgusting, and Homestar's like, "Oh, hello, monstrosity." I just imagine Homestar fighting the Dark Eldar.
That's how it would go.
"Oh, hello, monstrosity."
Thank you. Thank you. So, different homunculi, they have different views on the world and different beliefs. So, they have what are called disciplines, and there could be, a huge variety of different disciplines. So, over the millennia, homunculi have developed their own belief system. And while there could be infinite differing ideas, there also exists a few that seem to adopt into the philosophies of pain. A few common ones.
So we're going to go over those right now.
Yeah.
Some of them just have more information than the others as well.
Yeah.
So Apparitions, these homunculi make their lairs with mirrors and enjoy the capture of truly vain beings.
Yeah.
This is a story of in one lair, they built like an inverted pyramid, and it was suspended from the ceiling, and it's just all mirrors, and they would place like slaves inside of it. And so it's all mirrors, and it's just full of traps and stuff. And so they would watch these people try and navigate their way through this maze, and they all eventually will die horrifically and everything, and full of like despair and the hope crushed out of them. And these Dark Eldar just sit outside and watch.
Yeah.
And that's all they do.
Yeah. I can also imagine too, so they like to capture the vain when they're looking in the mirrors or whatever. And then I can just imagine them torturing the vain person by like, oh, you think you got the perfect body? Like, I'm going to destroy that perfection in you.
Little bit by little bit until you hate what you are.
And I'm going to turn you into a monstrosity?
A flesh monstrosity. But then I bet the homunculi themselves, since they're such masters of flesh and they're thousands and thousands of years old, I imagine they're really good at plastic surgery as well. So to make that sort of torture of the vain person even worse, they could probably turn you into the most hideous, ugly thing imaginable.
And then
it doesn't even need to be plastic surgery. They will just change your body.
But then just restore you back to normal and like trick you and be like, I'm going to let you go. and then just capture
whatever
you again.
torture they
do it all over again.
There's also a couple mentions that we were reading of mirror dimensions. And I'm not entirely certain. I couldn't really find a lot of information.
So the one dimension you have a mustache and a goatee, and in the other dimension you don't. That's how you know which one is evil.
But yeah, there seems to be some important aspect of how mirrors and how Dark Eldar can navigate through like mirrors and like dimensions. Like there seems to be something beyond just what we know and physically understand as mirrors. I just couldn't find.
Are you sure?
Yes.
Oh, I'm going to have to read some Dark Eldar novels now.
It was weird. I couldn't find any concrete
thing. I thought it was more just like pocket dimensions. I didn't know there was actually like a mirror.
Well, it just there's the mirror seemed to be like a portal to what they wanted to do. Like, sure, like you can create a pocket dimension and like you open it with like a button on your wrist, but there like seemed to be something special specifically with mirrors. And it would seem to fit.
Doing the research.
Yeah. I couldn't find it. I couldn't.
I bet there is though, because again, this is drawing on my strange arcane knowledge. It's going to be another weird digression. But mirrors are also important in, again, a lot of those like Western magical traditions of like you meditate by just like staring at your reflection in the mirror for a long time, and eventually
the idea that it can also steal part of you,
but like it makes you dissociate from your body, right? Like your sense of self starts to dissolve as you stare into the mirror, especially if you like drop a bunch of acid before doing it or something.
Well, I mean, psychotropes that helps everything.
Yeah. So the next one we have Nemesines.
They're an offshoot.
That's ever Nemesines.
Yeah, I'm reading ahead.
Yeah. So Nemesines, this discipline focuses on the destruction of all mortal races. They focus on learning the death secrets of every living creature. If life can be ended, they will do it in the most effective way possible.
Yeah. They know you got a peanut allergy and they're going to take advantage of that.
Yeah. They know that like there's this one gas like no human can survive. So they'll just flood a planet with gas.
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
Or they'll remove something from the atmosphere on like a specific planet that they know this creature needs to survive, so it'll just kill it.
So I'm going to put my nickel down here as the resident metal expert and say that the Nemesigns are maybe the most metal category of Dark Eldar.
I wouldn't do it yet. Just wait.
That's pretty
there's
metal.
some other ones out there.
I am reading the Ever Nemesigns, and they're pretty good. But I mean,
hold on till we get to Scarlet Epicureans.
Okay.
That's what I think. You really
you think they're going to be the most metal?
Yeah. From what I don't understand about metal.
Because metal can't just be gross.
No.
Like, that's part of it. But part of it is also this very, like, hyper-violent, extreme, toxic masculinity of, like, we're just killing. That's all we are. We're killing machines.
Do you want to do Ever Nemesigns?
I do. I would love to. They are an offshoot of Nemesigns, obviously. And these Haemonculi take destruction a step further. Instead of destroying mortal beings and bodies, they attempt to destroy more esoteric ideas, such as hope, joy, or other uplifting emotions.
Yeah.
So this is like the death metal bands who the members of the bands are also really good jazz musicians. and so they can get like real funky and esoterically music. It's not just like punching you in the face with blast beats for 9 minutes.
Yeah, there's said that they wage wars on entire sectors and they attempt to destroy hope. So they don't really care about killing the individuals
that's very
inside
interesting.
it.
I like
they
that.
just want to deny hope to like crush the soul of every single person.
They're looking
at
hope as the thing that they have to kill.
Yeah.
So it's like,
how, like, that's just.
I mean,
like
it's worse. It's almost worse than killing.
No, exactly.
Yeah.
Like
They
how
don't
much
like a
more they
person,
get more,
right?
so much more pleasure of
because they're causing so much more pain.
They go raid a planet and they just kill newborn babies. They don't kill anything else. So it's like that planet knows that.
Or they literally genetically modify every single person and they release them back and they're like, now you can never do this thing that you once like loved your whole life, right?
Yeah.
Like
It's not good.
yeah. There's something that is done to the Tau world or Petch, sorry, the Kroot world. It's pretty great.
Are you gonna share
Are we
it?
gonna
Sure, I can. Okay, so so a couple Eldar, they want to learn. I don't even think it's these guys, but it fits really well. And they go to the Kroot world because they want to learn about how the what are the Kroot shamans called? Shapers. So they want to learn how the Shapers actually shape Kroot. So they go, they do a raid. They obviously it's Haemonculi versus Kroot. Who wins? It's fairly obvious. It's the Kroot with the jizz hands.
Yeah.
No, the Haemonculi, they annihilate like this area on Petch, like this homeworld. And so the Tau Hunter Cadre shows up to protect them. And the Haemonculi leave. They're just like, well, peace out. We don't need to fight. We have everything we need.
Yeah.
And as they leave, they cut up a bunch of bodies of Kroot and they leave a message for the Tau. And I can't remember exactly.
Let the feast begin.
Yes. Oh, welcome to the feast.
Welcome to the feast.
It was welcome to the feast that they shared. And that was just so disturbing to the Tau. And the Haemonculi learned that it was disturbing. So now anytime they raid Tau worlds, they leave messages in bodies like that for the Tau.
Yeah.
Which is, they're just fucking with an entire race in an attempt to like demoralize and destroy them. Like that's such a...
Yeah.
That's awesome.
Yeah.
They are the most evil that evil can possibly be.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
And I don't even think that's ever Nemesigns. It fit really well with that. Like, we're destroying your idea and your courage, right?
Yeah. Yeah, pretty cool. So the next one is Valetti. These arrogant homunculi take part in real space raids purely to showcase their superiority. Yeah. So
Ooh,
they just modify themselves to the peak level of excellence.
I imagine these guys would kind of be like, take the professional wrestling approach to raiding. You know, they'd be very flamboyant and really make a show of it.
They're proving that they're better than you.
Yeah. Toying with you.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Next one.
Phoenix.
Jordan!
Jordan!
When did you get here?
I'm just soaking it all in, brother.
Oh, I know.
He's in his refractory period now.
A hidden discipline. This idea revolves around the destruction of the Eldar race and the subsequent revival through the death god Ynid. They believe they will rule the new Eldar race after they completely sacrifice them to Ynid.
This is an interesting aspect, actually. So Yanid, if you don't know, is the new Eldar god of death that Yvraine is trying to resurrect.
Yeah.
Through like the accumulation. She's trying to shove so many souls together.
Yeah.
And to create this being of just a warp being, really.
Yeah, warp being
the Incarn.
to fight.
And the Incarn is like its current manifestation right now.
Yeah.
So these guys, they kind of subscribe to that idea. Like,
but they take it one step further.
Yes, they want to completely annihilate every single Eldar. They don't want to just get enough souls to put together a Yanid.
Yeah.
They want to kill everything.
Yeah.
Every single Eldar.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that's risky business for them. And so there are
a lot of enemies when you're trying to kill everything.
Right, exactly. Like they're trying to kill other homunculi and like Vect, they would kill all the Cabals and all the Comorites, all the Craftworld Eldar, and even all the Exodites. Literally every single Eldar they want to annihilate in the galaxy.
Yeah.
Specifically so Yanid can be raised and then they can rule over the new birth of the Eldar as they see what happen.
Yeah.
And so they stay secret so they aren't destroyed by those they wish to sacrifice.
Yeah.
The interesting thing is that a lot of other Eldar actually share a view of this, and it's said like there's
not as hardcore, but definitely share an aspect of it.
Yeah, so it's even said like there's some Comorites who share it. There's even some like leaders of craft worlds who also subscribe to the idea of we need to birth Yanid to save our race.
Yeah, that's the big one. And then these guys they just take it that step further.
They're like, oh, okay, we'll kill everyone.
Yeah.
Like that'll make it happen.
Yeah, exactly.
So I'll take Scarlet Epicureans.
Do it. Did you read it?
I have. Since your contention is that they're the most metal, and I disagree.
All right.
I'm still going with my what was it? The Nemesines.
Nemesis or the Nemesines? Yeah.
They're the most metal. There's a very niche subgenre of black metal called depressive suicidal black metal, and so these bands have names like "Make a Change, Kill Yourself."
Oh my god!
And like that's what they sing about suicide.
All right, so that's these guys.
And so that's basically the Scarlet Epicureans. It is pretty metal, but I don't think it's
the most metal is the Naderists.
As inclusively metal.
But go on, tell us about them.
Scarlet Epicureans. So like all homunculi, they sup death as a fine wine. But these ones in particular seek death out. So I imagine this means that like they're essentially killing themselves.
They want to die, yes.
For fun.
Potentially, yeah.
And they have a buddy who's going to bring them back, I imagine.
We're going to go into Homunculi Resurrection at some point.
Oh, is it different than regular Eldar?
Slightly different,
Oh, interesting. That's just what I was... But so they view
we'll go into it after you read the rest of these, because I don't think it's on our notes otherwise. But.
Oh, cool.
Oh, maybe not.
So they view death as the only real experience left to them, and will seek out new ways to experience it.
Yeah, they go and,
they're constantly inventing new ways to die in themselves, but they're also constantly going to attack people to learn new ways. Like if there's an alien race they've never fought before, they want to go learn, all right, what is it like to die at the hands of this race?
Yeah.
Right? What weapons do they have that can kill me?
Yeah. They'll go and they'll sit in like what is that crazy ant with the bullet ants? They'll go sit in a bullet ant hive and just like get eaten alive to feel the most painful way to die.
So it's like there's even like the particular moment of dying is what like that instant where you go from alive to dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what they're like.
That's the experience that they're seeking.
Yeah.
So do we know like is there any sense that they're doing this so that they can like gain more power or do stuff on the other side of death?
I think it's purely a sensation. Like I want to know what it was like to do that.
They're hedonists like the rest of the Dark Eldar, right?
And now if you read that, you'd think, well, that's a pretty... There can't be a lot of these guys if they're always killing themselves, but the homunculus have a special way to bring themselves back where they actually will leave parts of their souls.
Yeah, so they are so good at their science, their craft, that they've actually learned ways to separate their own soul.
Yeah.
And so they leave a portion of their soul behind in special areas.
I figured they'd be doing.
Yeah, every time they leave. And then they get brought back to life through that process. So, they
even
don't
though
even
die,
need.
There's no risk to them.
Yeah, there's no risk.
Yeah.
So the only way to destroy a homunculus is to destroy it utterly in body and spirit. So it is extremely difficult to kill a homunculus.
But if you kill its spirit though, or its body, then its spirit is just a ghost, right?
But its spirit exists as like, so souls is a weird thing.
Or is it bound kind of like a lich? Do you know what a lich
really
is?
quantify.
Fuck, I forget what it's called. They have a relic that actually can capture souls and can hold souls. And I'm not talking about spirit stones. Fuck, I wish I remember. Okay, I'll come back to you.
Yeah.
Come back to me, I mean.
So they break a part of their soul, they put it aside, it's in their lab, right? And then they go to battle, they die, and let's say their entire cell is destroyed. So all their racks are gone. There's no one there to bring a part of their body back. Well, that's okay because they've left a portion of their soul and presumably a portion of their body back behind. Because they can just grow things out of their body, remove it, right? So then through that, someone else will come in and resurrect them for them.
Right, yeah.
But the whole like soul or spirit or whatever, it's really hard to quantify, and Games Workshop hasn't really like what does it mean to like break off your soul? Does it mean like you're 1/5 of who you were previously? Does it mean you're 1/5 of a strength? Like it doesn't seem to work.
It's more like strength. Like a good example is Magnus the Red. He's been sharded, and he's just not as.
Is that a kinky dark Eldar sex thing?
Oh yeah,
getting sharded.
And he's just not as powerful. And there's a bunch of shards. Another good example would be like the Necron, Satan, where they've been sharded.
But those aren't spirits or souls.
No, not as good. But Magnus definitely has been sharded, and like his and
through what?
Warp fuckery. I don't know. But like,
because it doesn't seem like the homunculi become less powerful in what they're doing or less devious. There's no lesson of them. They don't lose who they are as people, right? They've done it to other people.
Yeah.
So there's aspects of what they do when they kill people. They will like genetically imprint fear into them as like something like for fun, and when they bring them back, that person will remember the fear that was put into them, and they'll continue experiencing it beyond death. Right. And so, but normally like death is like the cutoff, like it's kind of a reset.
Right.
So, but for these guys, it doesn't seem like they lose anything when they die and are brought back this way.
I would agree with that.
So that seems like so I don't know if that fully fits with what you're talking with Magnus.
No, it's a different thing for sure.
But we
were talking about like souls, so that's why I brought him up.
Because of like
But we do know
the size of their soul. Do homunculi have gigantic souls?
No idea.
You know what they say about big Eldar feet?
Big Eldar
soul
stones?
shoes. I mean,
big soul stones.
Yeah, big soul stones.
But we don't really like know exactly how it works. All we know is they leave a piece of themselves behind in order to be resurrected.
Yeah,
there are
the basic like lich concept from mythology, right?
Yeah.
Like you put your soul in a
lich is a combination
in
of
an
multiple
object.
souls, a phylactery. Yeah.
Yeah, so the Dark Eldar have a bunch of different items. They have one called the Orb of Despair, where it's an orb, a black orb that contains many souls in it, and they throw it at people and it'll explode in like soul energy. So like they could use that process, but just not throw their own soul at people. There's also soul traps. There's archangels of pain. There's crucibles of malediction. All these things involve capturing souls. So. And usually harnessing it to
we know they're familiar with the science of manipulating souls.
Yeah, exactly. So
how exactly they do it, who knows?
Yeah.
Black cornucopians. So these homunculi believe themselves to be the masters of the galaxy, claiming ownership over all. They are masters of large-scale real space raids, and excessively plunder that which they believe is rightfully theirs.
Yeah, they just think everything is theirs for the taking. It goes back to that, like, they don't like people who walk on the ground because, like, they're just so much above them. Like, they think everything is
kind of a holdover of previously when they were masters of, like, when they were in the Eldar race and they already had supremacy over the galaxy.
Yeah.
It could be a little throwback to that.
Yeah.
So they're like the world's worst example of a snowflake. You know?
How how dare anyone else have this? This is mine.
It belongs to me. It's all mine. I should have everything.
No, single child syndrome.
Yeah, I'm not very scared of the black cornucopians in the same way that I should be. The Dark Eldar.
The thing is, if you ever were to meet a homunculi or homunculus, most likely it's a black cornucopian because they're the ones that are actually they're the most commonly raiding the galaxy.
That would make
'cause
sense.
They want everything.
Yeah.
I imagine they're quite avaricious and greedy, kind of like dragons, and they have
exactly.
gigantic.
They have
Hordes
pocket,
of loot.
Yeah, exactly. They have pocket dimensions
Oh,
that
right.
they keep well stocked with supplies for like slaves and tools and whatever that they can go for centuries without leaving this pocket dimension. Just a nice little summer vacation home.
This next one has got to be a death metal band name,
It has to
right?
be.
Repugnomancers. That's amazing. So these repugnomancers, in addition to singing in death metal bands, they focus on the creation of lethal and hidden surprises. Oh my God! So they're like the Joker, but way more deadly, or the Riddler, and catching their prey unawares.
Yeah, traps, any manner of like psychological traps or even physical traps or whatever. That's their specialty.
I love the way you wrote it as hidden surprises.
Well, like, surprise! This one's hidden.
Surprise! All your flesh has been flayed.
Not what you were expecting.
I'm gonna hang you by your own retina. Surprise!
Okay, this one is the most metal.
All right, go for it, Marcus.
Naderists. Naderists believe that the sin and depravity is the path to godhood. They commit more and more heinous acts in an attempt to bleed evil into the galaxy and transcend the mortal plane altogether. The older Nadists have become so withered and decrepit that they must spend all their moments committing atrocities lest they fade away completely.
So they kind of like become a crackhead or somebody who's severely addicted to heroin or something, where they basically get to a point where they have to be doing the drug 24 hours
Exactly,
a day
yeah.
in order to not feel like they're dying.
Yeah.
But yeah, and the thing is, like, in the same way that like a drug, like you like grow resistances to them, like Dark Eldar grow resistances to their feelings, and that's why they constantly have to search out new ways to feel things and new experiences. So they've spent so long committing atrocious acts, the next one has to be more atrocious and more evil, and like their souls are just, they are so disgusting because they've committed just more and more and more atrocities.
Yeah, and you guys got into this a little bit with Asdrubal Vecht and sort of the psychology kind of being immortal, and like what does that mean in terms of your sense of self. And I could easily see there being a fair amount of Dark Eldar who are tens of millennia old and have like literally been Hitler or Genghis Khan 1,000 times over.
Yeah.
They don't even remember it.
Yeah.
Like they'll come up to another Dark Eldar and they'll be like, hey, you remember that Imperium planet where we sodomized the whole population to death?
Population.
That was so awesome. And he's like, I don't remember that. This is so
Yeah,
embarrassing.
that's
I
very
totally don't remember that.
that's a
guy.
very real possibility. Like,
I mean, I believe that I did it.
wait, show me a
obviously
picture.
something I
Show me
do.
proof.
Picture, it didn't happen. Put it on the gram.
But yeah, these guys are the pinnacle of evil acts.
Yeah.
All they want to do is commit more and more atrocious acts just in order to survive at some point.
Yeah. So I would imagine a lot of these beliefs could go even into just like the Dark Eldar population in general and isn't just a homunculus thought. Like some of them definitely are just homunculus thoughts, like the Scarlet Epicureans. But even that...
No, because even regular members of cabals can be brought back to life.
Like, it's just not as safe. But like a lot of them, like the Black Cornucopians, definitely like you could see these being thoughts not just for homunculi, but just a Dark Eldar in general philosophy.
It's also said that, so like the Dark Eldar have existed in Camorra as the Dark Eldar for around 12,000 years at this point.
Yeah.
And in the sorcery reading in the Codex, it says that these ideas and beliefs constantly like flux in their popularity. So at some point, like a lot of the homunculi are like, yeah, let's focus right now on like learning the most effective way to die and like what it's like to die. And then in 300 years, it flows kind of to like a repugnomancer, like well, maybe now we're going to learn all about secrets and like hidden traps and lethalities. So there's a constant flow of what's popular in the moment. So it's very possible it bleeds out into the population.
I'm just vomiting analogies today, but it's kind of like every few years at universities, obviously there's got to be a number one major at any given time, right? But like the amount of enrollment in specific majors will track to like what's popular in media, especially like there's the well-documented CSI effect where it's like how many people even knew what a forensic crime scene investigator was before
then you make 18 TV shows about it.
And then every other overnight cashier at ESO is gonna go to community college to become a forensic investigator. Or like with 6 Feet Under, when that was a popular show, a lot of people were like, oh, I'm gonna be a funeral home director, I'm gonna be a mortician. weird trades like that spike in popularity.
Like if you can see how it happens in us, obviously it can happen in other people, right? So
so those are the main beliefs or common ones, disciplines. There's many more. You could create your own if you really
100% you could create your own.
I imagine the Dark Eldar players have got to get into that, right? Creating
it depends if they don't really subscribe to the homunculi aspect, like maybe they specifically like the cabal aspect
or witches.
Oh, that's right.
This is a little more particular to to the homunculi themselves.
Singular taste.
I am a man of singular taste.
And the touching begins.
Once more. There we go.
I would couch it as the touching resumes.
It
never really ended.
So let's talk about covens. We've talked a lot about everything else, individual homunculi and all that, but homunculi will band together to form covens for the mutual benefit reasons.
For whatever reason they want in the moment. Like it's really hard to gauge what motivates these individuals.
So we got a little bit, there's not a lot known about covens, and we'll talk about them. The majority of Covens hierarchy is unknown to us, whether they adhere to strict ranks or even if there is a leader. We don't know. Nobody knows. Like, it's a very fluid thing, I would imagine.
Yeah, I'm assuming that the homunculus, like, they know how it works, but we don't.
Yeah.
It hasn't been shared. That knowledge hasn't been shared with us. As humans.
All we really know is that covens will band together over singular preferences. While two homunculi might have different beliefs or disciplines, they can still work towards them using similar techniques. But we really don't know how big they are. Some only have 12 members, others might have hundreds. There's no standard. I'd imagine it's very fluid too. Like, you can be in one coven, leave that coven, join another coven.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, it's all...
be in multiple covens at the same time.
You could be in multiple covens at the same time, sure. Like,
I think
I bet that happens a lot because I bet they're all constantly trying to kill each other.
I think there might be like the coven of 12. I don't think you could be in that coven and another coven because that's very particular.
Sure.
But like, to say that it's impossible
because they're linked together like a human centipede.
That's right.
So you literally can't.
But I would think more that you wouldn't be in more than, like, my reasoning for not being in more than one coven is because you're focusing on a specific aspect of your craft at that moment. That's my only thought is like, well, if I wanted to do the other one, like, and because they have no restriction on time.
Sure.
They're not worried about like, oh my God, I need to learn all these things at once. They're like, I'm going to focus on this for 300 years.
I can follow that thought process.
I'm not saying it's impossible. I'm saying it's like my best reason for being in two covens is spying. That's my... If I was to write a story about a guy being in two...
Yeah, that would be what I would think.
Like, I want to like bring down another coven because like they're getting the best contracts or something. So that would be my thought. I like to like what's the conflict aspect of it.
And it's even just like, it's like betting at the casino. You know, you can put all your money on one roulette number, or you can spread it around on a bunch of other roulette numbers and
increase the odds of actually winning something.
Increase the odds of survival even for a Dark Eldar.
Exactly.
Right.
Yeah. So we're gonna go over only 3 covens today.
There are a lot, but
There
these
are
are
many.
like the codex compliant ones. These are the ones you can actually play as on tabletop.
They're a little more well known, a little more
Yeah.
fleshed out.
Yeah.
Get it?
Fleshed out.
I'll
Yeah,
never
but
look
there,
at flesh the same again.
but yeah, there's a bunch of big ones that have a lot of information. So if you're really interested in more, just go Google it.
I'm sure at some point we might even come back and touch them again. We got
sure.
infinite source material.
Yeah.
So not like Star Wars apparently.
No, there's very little source material for them to go off of.
Yeah. Anyways,
There's nothing.
that was just a throwaway line for Christian to hear. That's all I'm hoping. I'm hoping that he
You
listens
son
to
of a
this.
bitch. You know he's going to message me now at 2 in the morning.
You're like, that's right, Disney. Blah, blah, blah. Anyways,
Let's see. Did he send me one?
Commie
last night?
scum.
Okay, carry on. Let's
all
see.
right. So the first one we're going to talk about is the Coven of 12, and these are the butchers without equal.
Sorry, let me just jump in. So at 3:00 a.m., I got
Yeah.
the message from Christian. We should paint Warhammer later tonight, especially since it's going to be warm outside. So that was a pleasant text to wake
That's
up.
nice.
Normally,
That's very
they're-
nice.
Yeah, normally they're ranting and ravings about communists and stuff.
So the Coven of 12, they are the best, most skilled homunculi in all of Komorra. There are only 11 homunculi in this coven, with the final place being reserved for Urian Rakarth, if he ever accepts. And Urian Rakarth is probably one of the most famous.
Yeah, one of the most skilled, definitely the most famous.
Definitely called a master homunculus.
Yeah.
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 The only way to join the 12 is to kill one of the members in such a way that even the master homunculi cannot resurrect them. And we kind of talked before how if you want to kill a homunculus, you have to kill them bodily and spiritually.
Yeah.
Because if any portion of their soul is left hidden, stored away, they will come back. And then they'll come back to wreak vengeance upon you, right?
Yeah. Although there was one example of somebody vying for position in this coven. So he didn't end up killing the homunculus to take his place. He just turned him into a sentient soup.
Which they supped upon, which killed him.
Oh, then they ate the soup.
They ate the soup.
Okay, I thought that-
He fed it to everyone else, and
Oh,
they
okay.
ate
So
him.
it did end up killing him. Okay.
Yeah, no,
Okay.
like
I take it back.
That is one of the ways that he was able to completely annihilate another person. Is he literally turned him into a soup, and he kept his
Sentient
sentient
soup.
soup because he kept the soul with the soup.
Yeah, so
and then he fed it to a bunch of people.
Yeah.
So what do we
That's
think?
wild.
Yeah.
What do we think the mechanics of turning a person into soup are?
no.
Do we mean like he made a soup using their body parts as ingredients, or like,
Both, but it,
or like use like a Harry Potter type spell where you just turn them into a can
No
of,
magic.
Spellio soup.
of a
no
Campbell's
magic, no
chicken
magic,
noodle.
or at least limited magic.
Yeah. Because of the constant conflict, the homunculi and the 12 strive to make the strongest and most deadliest creation. Another aspect of their creations is that the racks and grotesques are fully flayed, their nerves and muscles open to the air to better feel the world around them. But yeah, like this
That's
coven,
fun. That's fun.
this is like the most prestigious coven. Like there's only 12 of them, and to get access, you have to be the best of the best. And
Yeah, it's not necessarily like the most powerful or
Yeah.
the biggest presence, but it is definitely like
the prestige of
yeah,
it. Yeah,
exactly.
Most members of the 12 are Scarlet Epicureans discipline and seek a death in a new and interesting ways.
Yeah. A Scarlet, like if I was to
works out
view
well, I
if I was to
guess.
view the culmination of like your journey through disciplines, I kind of view like Nadarism and Scarlet Epicureanism as like a pinnacle. I view those as like that's your end journey.
Yeah.
Like you've already
Yeah,
gone
yeah.
through the Black Cornucopians of viewing the galaxy as
Yeah.
yours. You've already gone through Nemesines and Ever Nemesines.
Yeah.
Maybe you touched the Phoenix and realized how dumb it is. Like you've already like gone through Repugnomancers,
sure.
and then eventually you reach the point where there's like I'm just
nothing
gonna
left
learn
for
to
you, yeah.
die.
Yeah.
Or you reach the point where you're like, I have to commit so much evil just to survive.
Yeah.
So they kind of feel like the end game.
I see what you're saying.
If
sure.
that makes sense.
Yep. Yeah. So there's
that's the level cap for Dark Eldar.
so there's a lot more information on the Coven of the 12. Like they have their members, but
Lots of cool stories of how other members have been killed.
Yeah, exactly.
It's very unique, and each one is very disturbing.
Yeah. And maybe, yeah, like you said, we'll have to come back and revisit every coven in super detail, but not today.
So, prophets of flesh, exemplars of execution.
Oh,
excruciation.
That's right.
Oh, you're right.
I read it.
Dang,
Mark, don't be that guy.
What?
Don't be that guy, Mark. You dumb.
But Mark, I'm so proud of you. You're reading so much today. You're getting a gold star.
Right on your nipple. Which I'm then going to cut off.
And fervently by Eric. Wait, what? What are you doing with my nipples?
Mark, you can't expect me to listen to an entire goddamn episode about Dark Eldar Homunculi and not cut a couple nipples off.
And turn it into a sentient soup.
Yeah. Which I'm thinking
Sentient nipple soup. Hello tonight. We'll be having
The first
the
course.
blood of an infant child. And then for our entree, we have nipple soup.
that would be a
Finish it
thing.
off. We got a nice fine wine of courageous imperial commander.
Yeah, I guess that's a real thing.
So these exemplars of excruciation, they are one of the largest and most powerful covens. These homunculi demonstrate a special interest in converting non-dark Eldar into grotesques.
Yeah.
Ooh, that's
Man,
gnarly.
Yeah, this one just opens up the whole converting of tabletop. Like, just imagine some of the crazy
And can you mix?
orc grotesques.
Why not?
and-
Yeah, that would be so cool.
Oh my goodness.
Like, you get a Tau head, you get orc legs.
Oh yeah.
You get like Tyrannid like things coming out of the back, right?
Yeah.
Like you can convert some wild crap.
I think a
with
human head on like a giant insectoid body
Sure.
always
Oh,
looks
sure. Why not?
very upsetting.
do it. Oh, and like
upsetting.
like put like you've sewed the mouth shut or
yeah,
something.
that's
and-
classic.
Yeah, classic.
Classic.
Oof.
So they will purposely fully raid other Xenos to claim as their own slaves for experimentation.
Yeah, when I read this, it sounded like they were taking the entire species.
Sure, why not?
Like they're claiming an entire species for their own to create new grotesques from. Is kind of like the thought I got
Sure.
out of it.
That certainly seems within the realm of the
Yeah,
Dark
no,
Eldar
exactly.
psychology.
Also within like the realm of what they want to have happen.
Yeah.
Like, as owners of the galaxy, right? It's all theirs.
yeah.
So
The racks of this coven will attempt to gain attention of their master, and in doing so, have one of their branded arms removed and replaced by an unblemished limb from their master's flesh library.
yeah. So the racks of this coven specifically, when they are created, their limbs are branded and like marked and marred
Yeah.
to like I think just claim ownership.
Yeah. Yeah.
Or just like mark and show that like it's just a distinction between someone who has a lot of marred limbs versus someone who doesn't have any.
Yeah.
Right. So eventually the Rack's body becomes unblemished and he will join the lesser ranks of the homunculi, having completely stained his soul.
Yeah.
This is one of
That's
the
awesome.
This is one of the few ways we found where you like actually it's actual evidence of new homunculi being made.
Yeah.
And of upward social mobility in Dark Eldar society.
Well, that's how it happens, right? So it's interesting to
God.
note that like if you want to become a homunculi, we know of 100% one way to do it.
Yeah.
And that is to volunteer, right? To be a rack, to have your body shaped and changed by these homunculi, and then gain the attention of them by doing atrocious things
Yeah.
and committing these heinous sins.
Yeah.
And eventually, like they describe it as there's like a weird dichotomy that like, yes, your body is now unblemished, but in that moment, your soul is as stained as it possibly can get.
Yeah.
And it's just a cool idea of you, like the Dark Eldar view the beauty of the unblemished skin while ignoring what they've done to their soul.
And then the fact that it comes from the flesh library, like that's the boss's like personal.
I just imagine them
collection,
opening the
right?
door and just there's shelves and shelves of arms and legs.
I'm gonna bring this term up again though, but that's getting very intimate with your homunculus overlord. You know, him letting you into his flesh closet. It's like.
So another cool thought too is, so they now have like this perfect body, and at that point they're now allowed to become a homunculus. And it's like, now you have this body, see what you can do with
Exactly.
it.
Yeah.
Like,
Show
none of-
me what
Yeah.
pleasures you want to
Exactly.
experience.
Like now you can do what you want with this body. Like before the the homunculus who was controlling them was doing what they wanted with it. But now it's like it's yours to fulfill your own twisted perversions on.
And this is like another very clear reason why we think there's nothing permanently done to a rack, because
like no lobotomization.
Yeah, no lobotomization, no removal of half the brain or whatever. But there's like, we know that, well, especially these ones,
which is one of the largest. So this is a common thing.
And imagine that at any time you can join this, and when you join them, you would just switch all your limbs of your racks to blemished limbs, right? So it's in this way we think that like racks are still very like sentient and their own, and nothing has been done to like dampen their intellectual ability at all.
This is a voluntary process.
This is that description right there kind of like opened floodgates for me.
It's a consensual relationship between
it's
a homunculi
so
and his
cool.
rack.
It really is.
Enthusiastic consent.
Yeah.
So many of the prophets engage in soothsaying, not through psychic art, but through the art of interpreting the effects of the atrocities they read.
So they listen to like the screams of their victims when they do this one particular thing. Like, it
Tomorrow's
will
a good
rain.
day to rain,
Yeah. Yeah. And they'll just try and like create omens and things through that, but no psychic things at all, because that would be bad. Okay.
Yeah, that's wrong. I find that morally
That is
objectionable.
where I draw the line.
No psychics.
And the final coven we're going to highlight today is the Dark Creed.
Oh, Jordan said he really wants to do this one.
The Architects of Terror.
The Dark Creed, Architects of Terror, believe that the abstract death is best. Their desire is to cause another to ultimately take their own life through manipulations or fear-mongering. They believe that a physical intervention, such as stabbing someone with a blade, is beneath them.
Sounds a lot like what my wife's doing to me.
Fear
It's too real.
That's dark.
Fear has a special place for them, and they often employ the most terrifying flesh creatures imaginable.
Yeah. So their grotesques are particularly like, they might sacrifice a little bit of oh my god, the word isn't coming to my brain.
Cats.
Yeah, they sacrifice a little bit of cats to make their functionality. They sacrifice a little functionality to make their grotesques particularly terrifying, right? So that's just what they go for. So they have strong links to mandrakes, who I don't think we've ever talked about mandrakes yet.
We've briefly mentioned them for a sentence, but nothing crazy.
Yeah. So at some point we are going to talk about mandrakes and witches and incubi and all them. So mandrakes also help spread terror during raids.
Yeah.
So this pact that this coven has with mandrakes, it costs the coven thousands of slaves every year, but they view the benefit they get out of it, just this helping to spread fear, as 100% worth it.
Yeah, the screams that they can then harness is worth it in the end. I don't know where we are.
They are often employed by denizens of the Dark City as assassins, and view the kill of a Dark Eldar noble as a worthy goal, for they are the hardest to force to succumb to fear.
Yeah, because Dark Eldar have been trained since young. Like, they're steeped in this. Like, how do you make something who lives beside you scared when they've experienced the same crap their entire life?
Yeah.
So they view, like, the assassination, like, to try and kill a Dark Eldar by forcing them to kill themselves is, like, one of the hardest things that they could possibly do, but super worth it. Because it proves their craft as an assassin. Like, if you can force, like, a Dark Eldar to do it, you could do it to anyone.
Yeah.
Right? So there's a story of this one guy creating a sentient gas. And this gas, like...
Lots of turning random things.
Just think of your gas. Like the gas you were talking about earlier with the bowl that you seal.
Oh, that's right. The homunculus gas.
Right? Yeah, exactly.
It comes full circle. This is beautiful.
On
At the very end. So yeah, he was creating this gas that like slipped, like kept itself contained and like slipped through guards and only released like its potency when it was in front of like the victim or the target, right? So
goddamn sentient gas.
Yeah, it was just there's a lot of cool abstract things that they try and do to get people to like die, and it's a very cool different.
They're not
thing.
just kicking in doors and filling the place.
No,
full of
no. That's
bullets.
beneath them, right? Yeah.
It's boring.
Yeah.
It is boring.
After you've killed like 100,000 people that way.
Exactly. Yeah.
So the Dark Creed, they make their lair in the Whispering Void, and it's a city-sized cavern in the bowels of Cormora where they make their home. It is half out of step with reality, making it a feared mass of shadows, mists, and half-heard threats. Yeah, it's just one of those cool thoughts. Like, it's not fully there. Which is already a weird thing in Cormora.
Gamora is already gonna mess you up.
Yeah.
So this is even gonna mess you up more.
Yeah, and it just like it's the perfect place to kind of feel like that more. The fear,
perfect
the terror,
place.
The perfect place.
Except the opposite of that.
Yeah. The least perfect place.
yeah.
That's
Homunculus.
That's Haemonculi Covens, yeah.
So the big thing I took away from that was definitely the resurrecting of Eldar and like bringing them back to life and just the process of how that actually works. That was my big takeaway.
That was like your big learning curve.
That was where I'm like, I never knew that.
My big learning curve, and I don't know if maybe the homunculi are maybe just super zeroed in on this trait, but the sadism, the extreme sadism of the Dark Eldar. Like, I knew they were like vaguely evil or whatever, but they were just like general dark wizards kind of in my head because I wasn't that familiar with them.
But yeah, these ones take it to that next level.
But yeah, these guys go all the way.
Yeah.
Well, they're like debaucherous.
Yeah,
That's
exactly.
kinda what they are.
Yeah.
Depraved.
Yeah,
They're not just evil.
Yeah.
Yeah, it fits in with the Gamora / Gamora theme.
It's like
Whatever level of evil for evil's sake you can imagine.
and that's like something that sometimes people say about others is that nobody's really trying to be evil, right? Everyone's the hero of their own story, but for these guys, they aren't the hero of their own story. They're the villain, and they want it that way.
Yeah, no, exactly.
Yeah.
The biggest takeaway I think I learned at this whole thing was the necessity of the homunculi.
Yeah.
Like if the witches disappear from Gamora, not a big deal.
Yeah.
If even all the Kabbalite leaders and it descends into anarchy,
Yeah.
not a big deal because gangs will spring up where previously they once stood, or someone.
It's barely not anarchy, as it is.
Exactly. Yeah. Or like if half of the city gets cut off, it doesn't really matter.
Yeah.
But if all of a sudden these homunculi stop birthing.
Yeah, that's the death of the species.
It is, yeah. Like all of the Dark Eldar they'd have to leave Gamora and join Craft Worlds because they no longer would be able to go on raids.
Yeah.
Right? Because half of
can't
their population
risk it,
would have to start birthing, right? And raising children.
Sure.
Right? And then so they'd lose all those souls income that they were getting, right?
Soul income.
Well, I mean that's effectively what it is, right?
Yeah.
So they are 100% necessary for life in Gamora to continue.
Yeah.
And if ever they decided that they wanted to like claim ownership, as it were, of Gamora as a whole, like why would you choose to stop them? Because if they just stop providing you with half-borns, like what are you going to do?
And then they're still making half-borns
For themselves. Yeah, they're creating armies. Yeah. Or who's to say they don't have like a genetic kill switch in every single half-born that they've created?
Yeah, it's quite possible.
Right? Like, how dare you think you can turn my own creation against me?
Yeah.
Boom, dead. All 2 million of your soldiers dead because I created them. Like that's, I don't know.
It could be a very real thing.
Yeah. And it's also described that during the rise of Vect, the homunculi sat in their covens and just watched it happen, and they just supped and dined.
Yeah.
They are so above like the political play in Gamora.
Yeah.
They view it as trivial.
Yeah, it's like you said, like if they wanted to take power, they just would.
Yeah.
Like
they have no desire to rule this city because theirs is realms of either the galaxy as a whole or death itself that they've mastered.
Yeah.
Right?
Exactly. Yeah.
The more I learn about these, like, and this happens to me with every goddamn episode we do where we die.
Now I have to get a Dark Eldar
It's
army.
exactly what it is. Like I have to.
Damn it.
I want to write a story about this.
And what's
now.
crazy too is like I am definitely not a Dark Eldar mentality kind of guy. But this
I
inspires
certainly
me.
hope not.
No, but like like yeah, it inspires.
We were kind of
Inspires me to do things.
Mark and I were
People
kind
in
of
this room.
a lot of when we do our research, we talk a lot about how it would translate to writing stories and to creating like your own section of story or lore within the universe. And we kind of threw around as a joke when we were writing this is, how would you write a story from the perspective of a half-born born in like the flesh walls and cared for by racks?
Yeah.
And so we called this book My Father, the Homunculus. We wrote like, my father loves me so much. I can tell when he's cutting into me and stabbing me with needles and making me scream.
Takes extra time on me.
Yeah, like how twisted and dark is that relationship that this homunculus has with all the beings he creates? Does he view them as even people? Like, does he view them as half-born even less than how everyone else views them as half-born? And so it's just like this.
There's a good story.
This is horror in 40K. If ever you wanted to write a horror story in 40K, this is the scene to do it in.
Yeah, for sure.
I want someone to do it.
Necron too, or someone.
Oh, for sure, for sure.
It does kind of seem to me though that the only non-horror race in the whole 40K universe is basically the Tau.
The Tau,
but everything else.
Well, are orcs horror?
So
kind of.
Well, no, yeah. So here's the thing about orcs. Like, they seem goofy, they seem comical, but just put yourself in 40K. Just imagine you're an Imperial Guardsman on a wall.
Well, I know.
The orcs
but
like,
what if you're an orc?
But I don't
You
just
love
see,
it.
Yeah, I just don't see that thematically as being like horror.
But I see them as like the real tongue-in-cheek, campy kind of horror, right? Like Army of Darkness or something like that.
But even humanity, like, I'm not saying for all of this, but there is a good portion of humanity that does not live in the horror state that the majority of like if 80% of humanity lives the most wretched existence you can imagine, then 20% are living glorious lives full of excess and living
there are such
beautiful
things as paradise.
They're paradise worlds, so not all of humanity is given to this wretched feeling. Every portion of Camorra is dedicated to pain and agony and just the terrible existence, right? So you can write a planet, a human planet, where it is nothing but horror. But somewhere out there is a human enjoying themselves.
That's my own ignorance of the lore.
Well, that's But in Camorra, there's no redeeming factor at all.
There's no good place where Dark Eldar are.
Yeah, I like that. I like when something is so given to an idea that you can't escape it. And you go more and deeper and.
Yeah. Very cool.
Yeah.
Any other thoughts? Think we're good?
I think we're good.
Yeah, that was a good episode. Sam, thanks for joining us.
Yeah, it's
thank
a pleasure,
you.
guys.
Yeah, we'll have to get you on some more.
It was fun.
Yeah, let's do it again.
Jordan, always a pleasure.
The pleasures of Camorra.
That's what you experience when you're here. Oh my god. So check us out on Facebook. Check our Instagram out. We're doing lore posts now. We've actually put together a pretty good team to do lore posts, so we're gonna be pretty consistent on that.
Yeah, if you want to join our community corner, share with us why you think you deserve it. First of all,
Then send us some Patreon money.
That's right.
Bribes.
Our December schedule coming up is going to be kind of wonky.
Yeah, I'm going on vacation here for 2 weeks. So.
Yeah, nice. We've got, this happened last year too. We'll probably mess up our schedule a little bit for about a month.
Yeah.
But, guys, check us out on Redbubble. Smash and hit that like and subscribe button.
On the button down below.
That's right, yeah. Right up here.
Jordan was just pointing at an imaginary button. At his
The
dick.
pleasures of Camorra.
That's what he calls it.
So I think there's only one fitting way to truly end this episode.
Sure.
And Sam's going to pick out the best death metal song, and then we'll add that in. So here's the best death metal
very
song.
end.
You can't do that.
Why can't you?
It's trademarked.
Yeah, it might be.
You can't do that.
Well, Sam's going to reinterpret it.
If someone gives
Sing
us
it.
a.
I'm going to do a
string.
cover.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, we'd have to buy
Here I
it.
thought
We'd
it
have to
would be-
buy it.
We're not, okay.
You have to pay for
Sure,
the right
I'm not
to
going to
use
argue.
it.
I guess I can't do what I want to do.
That's okay.
With life.
Not all the time, Mark, because the
Sam,
government
do you
is
have
trying to hold
do
you
you have
back.
a link that you can give people right now?
A link for
Yeah,
what?
a link for.
We
the
can
best
post it
death
on our
metal.
Facebook
Okay.
page.
Sure.
When we release the.
Sure, we'll do that then.
Yeah.
I mean, you can't go wrong with the album Scream Bloody Gore
Of course.
by the band Death, who were one of the, not surprisingly, pioneers of death metal down in
Okay.
Florida, which is sort of like the mecca of death metal, strangely.
Are you familiar with 40K metal?
I am. There's a band called Bolt Thrower. I don't know if you've heard about them, but
There was one guy when we first started this podcast. He messaged us, and he's out of Portland or Seattle. I can't remember which, but he's in a band.
Oh.
And like I listened to their songs, and I'm not a super metal guy, but I enjoy like those songs and like the feeling you get.
and there's
when-
another band. I can't remember if specifically they're Warhammer 40K themed, but they're called. But the name makes me think it, and their cover art is very science fiction-y. They're called Blade of Horus.
why would that not be?
So
40K?
I'm like,
Yeah.
I haven't like read their lyrics, but I have heard a couple of their albums a few times. Very, very good, extreme, like
Yeah.
the most death metal that's ever been made. It's
That's
really
pretty
good.
cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And the other thing, check out metal-archives.com. It's like your lexicanum for heavy metal. So,
Oh my god.
so I imagine that we have some listeners of this show who
There's a
are
type.
also into metal.
Yeah,
And
there's
Probably.
if any of that has piqued your curiosity,
Yeah.
they have a great rating system, and you can easily find all of the band's releases and members and things like that.
Cool.
If you're interested in that sort of thing.
Cool.
Well,
we
thank
did
you,
it.
Sam.
Another one for the books.
Yeah, and I guess we'll see you all next episode, guys.
Peace.